Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County. This meeting is being televised live on AACPS-TV and streamed on AACPS's YouTube channel. General information and protocols for the meeting are posted on the sign by the doorway as you enter the room. So please make sure that you read those if you have not already done so. At this time, we'll have our invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. And now our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we're going to move on to item 2.03, the approval of our minutes. The minutes, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have consensus? And we do. Moving on to item 2.04, establishment of agenda order. I believe we do have a motion.
President Silkworth, I move that item 6.07, student transportation services, be removed from today's agenda and considered at a future meeting for action.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Ms. Howe?
Ms. Schulheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdawi?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
I move that the agenda be adopted as amended.
Second.
We have a second?
Second.
Do we have consensus?
Yes.
Consensus? Okay. All right. So we're going to be moving on to item 2.05, our Educator of the Month. I believe it's Ms. Ellis.
Today, the Board of Education recognizes a teacher who goes beyond the call of duty every day, taking care of staff and students. Her people skills, written, verbal, and nonverbal, are her strengths. Ms. Dana Barrow, am I pronouncing that correctly? Math teacher at Arundel Middle School. Ms. Barrow does a wonderful job working with and supporting new students to the school and the profession. She supports them by showing them the ropes, walking them through a regular school day, and taking the time to answer questions or just listen. She has chaired the wellness and social committees at Arundel Middle, putting together events outside of the school day to give all staff an opportunity to bond with each other, such as bowling nights. On early dismissal days or conference days, there is always a nice array of snacks and beverages available to the staff. She also takes care of sending cards or flowers for birth announcements or deaths within the family. If someone is homesick, she arranges food for the individual or family. She supports the student body and the families of the Arundel Middle School community all the time. She gives up her own lunchtime because she is in the lunchroom tutoring students. Students who are unable to stay after school to redo or make up work are often at her table at lunchtime. The only student that would not do well in Ms. Barreel's class is the student who does not attend. Everything Ms. Barreel does is highly professional. In maintaining school records, working with students, staff, and parents, she goes above and beyond. She is professional in her attire, behavior, and language. She never frowns or complains. She is always positive and has a calming presence. Ms. Dana Barreel, the Board of Education is honored to recognize you as the Educator of the Month for November 2024. Congratulations. Now, would you please come forward so I can give you. So this is my last board meeting, and this is one of my favorite things to do. So I'm very excited to present you with this plaque.
Thank you so much.
Educator of the Month. We're going to provide you with a nice write-up, the wonderful things that people said about you, and then this certificate. Get a picture?
Thank you. Yes, please.
All right. So why did you think you were here today?
A math meeting. Scott's a very good actor. I've seen this a couple times now. And I thought we were here to talk transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade and what students need
I hope you didn't do too much preparation.
I asked what I should bring, and he said nothing.
Had people prepare a very elaborate presentation. Who do you have here today, please?
My close friends at work, Toby and Regina and Linda, and my father-in-law and my mother-in-law and my parents are from New Jersey, my sister Stephanie, my daughter, and my husband. In the middle. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
And now we're moving on to our next recognition item, 2.06, Employee of the Month. Ms. Shahheim?
Thank you. Our Employee of the Month is described by her colleagues as the epitome of an educational professional, helpful in any area of the school building you need, demonstrates an extremely high tolerance for stress, and is able to multitask. Who is this Wonder Woman? Mrs. Clea Hancock. Over there. IEP clerk at Belvedere Elementary School. Mrs. Hancock is well known for her extensive knowledge and the high quality of her work. She keeps the special education department's meeting schedule. She helps special educators track deadlines and stay in compliance with legal timelines. She ensures that the team is up to date on third-party billing and volunteers to help with filing and other paperwork as appropriate to reduce the workloads of our valued special educators. As a longtime AACPS employee who started her career as a TSA, Mrs. Hancock has proven to be a dedicated mentor to the newest members of the team, often mentoring new IEP clerks. If you are a new TSA or another employee, Mrs. Hancock will sit with you and help you activate your email, train you for Google Meets so you can access training, or have you shadow her to learn best practices. It is also evident that Mrs. Hancock delights in working with students and they love her in return. She is kind and always offers to be an extra hand in the classroom. She especially enjoys reading to the kids. She really takes the time to get to know them. In short, she is amazing. For all these reasons and many more, Mrs. Clea Hancock, the board recognizes you as the November 2024 Employee of the Month. Would you please come forward to accept your award? So I have this plaque for you, as well as the write-up of what I read and this lovely certificate. We'll take a picture here and then more in a few minutes. So what lie did they tell you to get here today?
That my husband, who was a crossing guard for about 12 months, was getting some appreciation.
Oh. What happened to a crossing guard?
We appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you. That's fantastic. And who else did you came to honor you?
My principal, Mrs. Seidel, my former principal, Mrs. Lambton, former assistant principal, Mrs. Brinovich, my husband John, and my stepdaughter Emily.
Aw, lovely, lovely. Well, congratulations.
Okay, moving on, item 2.07, our Volunteer of the Month.
An old Native American saying tells us, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." This month's Volunteer of the Month wants to return the earth to our children in better form and guide them through environmental projects at Bodkin Elementary School. It is an immense honor to recognize Marion Collins as our November 2024 Volunteer of the Month. Ms. Collins is a grandmother of 2 Bodkin students, is a huge advocate for promoting and showing environmental stewardship wherever she goes. She is a dedicated volunteer in various green initiatives and is always looking for ways to enhance our green school status. The staff at Bodkin are impressed by Ms. Collins' innovative thinking and her ability to constantly brainstorm ways to support green initiatives. One of her notable achievements includes leading the boat shrink wrap recycling program, where she organized and implemented a system to recycle boat shrink wrap at a local marina. And because so many of our families own boats, this helped to bring awareness to the amount of waste that goes into winterizing our boats. Ms. Collins created a sign up for our Bodkin families to purchase a bag for the used shrink wrap, and then arrange for them to drop it off at the Atlantic Marina. Ms. Collins also played a key role in partnering Bodkin Elementary School with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation for oyster restoration projects. Not only did she help establish the partnership, she built our oyster bins and regularly takes our collected oysters to the drop site. This partnership led to valuable learning opportunities for our students. Ms. Collins also began the TerraCycling program at Bodkin. Rather than have the school pay for TerraCycling boxes, she created collection sites for each grade to dump TerraCycle wrappers and bags, collects them once a week, and drops them off at the Subaru dealership for recycling. Just when you think those 3 large projects were enough, Mrs. Collins also volunteers every Friday at the Library Media Center and assists with kindergarten math mindset. Her dedication to making a positive impact in our school community is inspiring to those around her, encouraging others to volunteer. Mrs. Collins, Bodkin Elementary, and the entire Anne Arundel County Public Schools community is blessed to have such a dedicated volunteer, and we thank you for your service. Would you please come forward? It is with great appreciation that I would like to present the Volunteer of the Month bell and certificate. There you go. Here is your bell. Thank you. And I'm going to give you. They have a really nice certificate as well. So thank you for all of your hard volunteer and the wonderful things that they said about you. Thank you so much. How did they get you here today?
Well, my daughter was supposed to be getting an award. She teaches at Bodkin.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, it was easy to trick me.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for all that you both do. It's an honor, and we appreciate. Bodkin has a long history of awesome volunteers. We won Volunteer of the Year last year, so you're in the running for that now. And thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We do. And you brought your daughter, and who else?
No, they should. I was over here in secret.
Oh,
and they
okay.
appeared. I didn't bring them.
Oh.
They didn't bring me.
They magically appeared.
They magically appeared. Mrs. Myers, of course, the principal at Bodkin, and Miss McQuinn, my daughter, and Miss Beth Gressitt from the Media Center.
Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I believe we'll take a short break for photographs. Okay, we are now back, and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be moving on to item 2.08, a recognition of board members. So, ladies and gentlemen, today this board would like to recognize our three departing board members. Vice President, Ms. Corinne Frank, Ms. Alyssa Ellis, and Ms. Michelle Corkadell. First of all, I do have a presentation for each of these wonderful individuals, each of our wonderful departing members, and I'm going to do that first. The first one is going to be going to the wonderful gal to my left. That's Miss Corinne Frank. She served as a board member from 2020 and 2024 and vice president of this board from 2023 to 2024. And it is my honor to present to her from the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County, Miss Corinne Frank, this clock, which I understand is kind of a tradition that is passed down. So the tradition goes on. And so, Miss Frank, I'd like to present this to you. And we're not done. We'll be back to you. So,
I mean, not to clap yet or what?
oh, absolutely. Let's clap.
Okay.
Actually, I have to tell you, for me, I have to stand also.
Is this so I can stay on time at my next job?
Okay, so next we have Miss Melissa Ellis. Miss Ellis served as a board member from 2018 to 2024, and she served as board president from 2020 to 2021. And so, Miss Ellis, if I could ask you to come down, or if you could come down, we'll pass it down. We'll pass it down to you. This is, she did serve as president of the board, and this is for Melissa Ellis, Board of Education of Anne Arundel County, 2018 and 24, and president of the board 2020, 2021. It is gorgeous. It really is. So, Miss Frank, would you do the honors of passing this down? Now, it also, for me, has to be a standing ovation. 6 years. So next we have Miss Michelle Corkadell. Served as a board member from 2018 to 2024. Board president from 2019 to 2020. And Ms. Corkadell has the distinction of also serving as president of the Maryland Association of Boards of Education for this past year from 2023, 2024. That's outstanding. Once again, since she was president, I have this wonderful gavel, which has Michelle Corkadell, Board of Education of Anne Arundel County, 2018, 2024. Ms. Frank, will you do the honor? Thank you. I think it's time for our standing ovation also. Now, at this time, all three of these incredible ladies complete their term as Board of Education members on December 1, 2024. So you're still with us, and you will be until December the 1st. So at this time, I would like to ask all members of the board that would like to make some comments, hit your lights, and the three departing members, you don't need to hit your lights. So, anyone that wants to make some comments, hit your lights. Okay, let's, Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. Thank you to all three of you for your service. I have appreciated serving with you. At times we've agreed, at times we've disagreed, but I have learned something from each and every one of you. And mostly, I appreciate your willingness to give of your time, your intellect, and your care to the children of this county who I think have been better for it. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Ms. Dent?
I have to say all good things, right? Just kidding, just kidding. I honestly have nothing negative to say about either one of you all. It's been my honor and pleasure. When I came onto the board as a volunteer and appointed position, I did not know what to expect, but I was received by each and every one of you all with no pressure on making decisions, but just background information that I should know. And so I've had very, very detailed conversations with each and every one of you all. And what I appreciate most about you, and I've said this to you each individually, is your professional opinion tops no other. You are always looking out for the best interest of the constituents that entrusted you over these last 4 or 6 years, whichever one your tenure was for. And I appreciated that as an individual. I am constantly reminded by each and every one of you all that the diversity of thought is the most impactful decision that you can make for this Board of Education. And I respect that wholeheartedly. So I thank you for your tutelage, your mentorship, your friendship. And I hope that we continue to be friends in the future. And I hope that we will always have a time to where we can place everything else to the side and just continue to be professional colleagues. So thank you all for your service. Thank you all for the opportunity to share this dais with you, and I look forward to seeing great heights with each and every one of you. And I know what each one of you are doing after this, so I look forward to seeing you rise. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dent. Mr. Harumi?
It has been an absolute honor and pleasure to serve with the three of you, although I have only known you all for about 5 months. It feels like we've been through years of challenges and triumphs together. I'll go through all three of you. Corinne, you have been an inspiration when it comes to standing up for what matters. You've taught me that true leadership means standing firm in your beliefs, even when that path is challenging. Melissa, your ability to keep things cool and rational, even in the most heated moments, has been amazing. You've demonstrated that the most powerful arguments are those delivered with patience and reasoning and respect. Michelle, you have always been the one to speak up and say it. No filter, no holding back. And you've reminded me that if you've got something to say, just say it. To all of you, your collective wisdom and dedication to this board and your unique strengths have been instrumental to this board's success. Your departure will most certainly leave a void, but the impact of your service, I know, will continue to shape me and us through this board's future, whatever it may hold. Thank you all for your years of service, your mentorship, and your friendship. You will be deeply, deeply missed. Thank you all for everything, seriously.
Okay, so Ms. Corkadell, I think you may be wanting to say something about your colleagues, right?
That is correct, sir. I'll reserve my final comments. I just want to say that, I'm going to start with Melissa as my first. We came in as the very first elected representatives. We are the first elected women in Anne Arundel County to the school board. And we were the first to really, I think, establish the connection that was always sort of missing in our community between our school and our communities. And that's what the difference between elected and appointed really is. That does not, of course, dismiss any appointments out of necessity, and now not the case, right? But really, there was a lot of transition, and I know that you and I have not always agreed, but we did, I think, forge a very strong path in our leadership partnership, And what you have been able to do and to elevate the discussions, the thought, and the expectations of what success should look like versus what we tend to just accept is the legacy that you are truly going to leave this district. And Corinne, I did know you before serving on the board, but it was a different relationship. And now that we've worked together, I've just got to say that the level of professional and good governance that you bring to the table has really taught me a lot. And it is really hard to navigate through difficult issues unless you have folks who aren't just talking about their thoughts and their opinions and joviating, but actually coming in with a compassionate heart and being willing to lay that heart on the table, no matter what. And I am a better person for it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Crocodile. So it's my turn. I have to say from the bottom of my heart, it has been an honor, a true honor, and a privilege to serve with Ms. Frank, Ms. Ellis, Ms. Crocodile. Time really does fly. It just seems like yesterday that Dr. Tobin and Quinn and I were coming on board. And you know, since that time, we've been through so much together. We went through COVID. We went through the start times. We went through so many things. The selection of a new superintendent. Honestly, the mission of the Board of Education is to look out for the needs of the students and make sure that their outcomes can be the best possible. I just think that together as a board, we've accomplished so much for the students in Anne Arundel County, and I am so proud to have had the opportunity to work with you. I haven't always agreed with you. You haven't always agreed with me. But your commitment and dedication to our students have been absolutely unwavering. And I applaud each and every one of you for the great work that you have done. I truly will miss you. I can tell you the best thing that I can say is that when Dr. Bedell came on board, he made it clear to us. And by the way, we all had a hand in that decision, but he made it clear to us that Anne Arundel County Public Schools is a good school system. Well, I think we're better than good now. We're on our way to being great. And a lot of that has to do with the three of you. And so once again, I applaud you. I will miss you, but I know our paths will cross. And so having said that, at this time, we're going to have our departing members have the opportunity to speak to us. And we're going to start with Ms. Frank.
Thank you, President Silkworth. I didn't have anything prepared today because I kind of wanted to just speak in the moment, and I appreciate everything that everyone has said about me, and all of the well wishes for the future. It was a strange day coming to the board today. It was, you know, quite a surreal experience. And thinking back on our meetings, running as candidates, and you know, involving new members as they got to the board, and all of those experiences have added up over the years into what has been a pretty unique experience for me personally. So I'm very appreciative to everyone who has contributed to that. I'm appreciative to all of the perspectives that I've heard over the years, and I have learned a great deal, and I appreciate all of the mentorship and relationships that I have garnered in the last 4 years through this. So I wanted to go around just a little bit, and Michelle, you were very eloquent in your comments. So I don't really want to talk about myself because I know that you know, everybody at home probably is here to hear the business of the board. But I do want to talk about my colleagues. So I will say, Michelle, your perspective and your thoughtfulness each and every meeting has been tremendous. You are very measured in your thought and how you understand good governance and how you take your wealth of experience and apply it to our kids has been tremendous, and I think it's a huge asset. I'm going to get back to Melissa. Dana, I think that you and I have disagreed more than we've agreed, but I think that that has been a tremendous experience as well, because we do agree on some things. And sometimes I'll point out my colleague, Dana and I agree on this, because there's never a person in this county that you don't find some common ground with. And I think that that's been very valuable. And I appreciate when we do come together that we can recognize that. So thank you for that. Gloria has been an unbelievable, you've been amazing, Gloria. I appreciate you so much, because you have, there are things that I have just sort of taken for granted, that certain people will not appreciate my perspective because it's very different from theirs. And you have not only disabused me of that, but you have fought for my ability to have that perspective. And that has meant more to me than I think that you will ever understand, that you have taken what you say that you believe and applied it. So thank you. Hafsa, I probably shouldn't say this, but you have been probably the most amazing student I've ever met. I am very partial, and my one regret is that I can't serve a full year with you, because I think that, especially, when we are in the back room and people don't hear everything that you have to say, you have such an amazing perspective, and you have a quiet thoughtfulness. You have a quiet interest and sentiment, and it's really impressive for somebody who is, just not a loud person, not a particularly extroverted person, to be so firm in your beliefs is truly incredible. So I thank you for that. Dr. Bedell, you and I don't always agree either, but I thank you for all of your insight, and I thank you for the, very intellectual and stimulating conversations that we've had. I think that, we kind of go toe to toe a little bit, but I appreciate it. And I think that you are trying to do what you believe is in the best interest of the children, whether we agree on how we achieve that or not. And I appreciate that. And I love your shoes. And so thank you for bringing style to this board. Joanna, I appreciate everything that you have contributed as well. As we talk about Chromebooks, I have to tell one story. I was reading Nicomachean Ethics, and I told Joanna I've read it for like the third time, and I just can't grasp it. And she said, "Put the tablet down and go get a paperback book." And I did, and I haven't started it yet, but I will. It's been busy, and I really appreciate that, because as Joanna is a professor, a doctor, she's very, very intellectual, and just the simple things that she brings in an intellectual conversation are so fascinating. Her perspective on that, like, just put the tablet down, go get a real book and read that, because you'll retain that better. And it's the things that I've sort of said on the dais and then didn't realize were affecting me personally. And it's very interesting how you're able to sort of turn things into a teachable moment. And I appreciate the professor in you coming out sometimes in these teachable moments. So I really appreciate that about you. And President Sulkworth, I believe that when we talk about developing relationships, you have done a very good job of leading by example. I think you and I, I disagree with most people on the board sometimes, and you and I disagree as well, but we have a relationship, and I appreciate your relationship that we've built over the years. And you have a very good way of making sure that people know that you are interested in what they have to say before you start the conversation. How is your family? How are you doing? And then you listen to that. And I appreciate that because it sets the tone of how you want the conversation to proceed. And I've noticed that about you when you're building those relationships. So I thank you for that. And last is Melissa, who
I have to talk to them.
I know has become probably one of my best friends as an adult. I really appreciate what you've done for me, inviting my family to participate with your family with theater has been, I mean, life-changing for my daughter. And I can't thank you enough for that. So we will definitely stay in touch. And you have been a tremendous mentor to me and a leader. And probably, I mean, you guys think that I am fiery. This lady has kept the filter on. Corinne, don't say that. Okay, but you know I'm thinking it. So I appreciate that you have given me the perspective and the patience and the calm sort of sounding board to be able to help me grow into a much more positive board member. So with that, I thank everybody who has endured a bit of a sentimental moment for me. I appreciate it. I try not to speak too long, but I do appreciate that. And then I would like to say in my final comments that I have said many times on this board that it has been an incredible honor for me to represent other people. I firmly believe that. I believe that this country is an amazing country. It is a great country, and it is great because of this experiment that we participate in. And to participate in that experiment has been an honor. And representing people of my district, my community members, my school has been the greatest honor of my life. So thank you.
Okay, next we have Miss Ellis.
Yikes. So I've been here 6 years. I do have a few things to say. I jotted down some notes, but hopefully I can articulate it all the way I would like. First, I want to give some thank yous. I want to give my heartfelt thanks to the voters of District 4 for trusting me to represent your interests in this school system. I want to thank those who supported me in getting me here. This has been, besides parenthood, the greatest honor of my life. So thank you for everyone, to everyone who helped me get here. To the District 4 community, you are amazing. We have worked through some very challenging times between redistricting and pandemic and so many things. I especially want to give a shout out to the Friends of Meade and all that you are doing for that school community. That those kids just have so much support, and I know how deeply that is felt and how it translates into success for students. So thank you. Goodness. Okay, to my colleagues, everyone has said it. So let's just be clear. At least for me, there's not a person in my life that I have agreed with on everything, especially within the walls of my home. So, so of course, we've all had disagreements. But that being said, I would say, first of all, Dana and Michelle, my gosh, what a ride it's been since 2018. Truly, the very first election on the Board of Education that completely changed what this body does. And it's been an honor to be a part of that. And thank you for the collaboration. And we got some good things done. And Gloria, I really could very much echo what Corinne shared about you. I consider you a dear friend. I look forward to getting together, and you'll still hear. You all will still hear my voice a little bit because I'll be sharing with, having conversations with Gloria and just seeing how things are going and offering my support. Hafsa, you are you are a colleague, and you are, to me, you are a member of this board. I don't view you as a different than a student, a member of the board. You bring a tremendous wisdom and maturity to your seat, and it's so important for our students. I'm so delighted that you're here and that I've come to know you. You have my number, and I am your friend for life, so please reach out. I know you've got some big changes ahead, and with my baby, a freshman in college, I've been through it a few times, and I'm here for you. Dr. Bedell, I'm going to get on in just a moment about my feelings about what this board did here, but personally, I consider you a friend as well, and I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversations, and I sincerely hope they continue. Mr. Silkworth, I learned a lot about you from there and from my dear friend Terry, who admires you so greatly, and we're really fortunate to have your voice on this board, and thank you for leading us over the last year. Corinne, I mean, I think you said it all. Can't wait to come see the little girl on the stage this year. This is my first year, but there's a holiday show that happens every year. My kids participated ever since 2011. It's an amazing holiday musical review. And this is my first year as an alumni parent, and I cannot wait to see your little girl shine on the stage again. But thank you for all the collaboration and for the friendship. Joanna, we knew each other a bit before you got here, fellow Panther parents, fellow theater parents, and I knew that you would provide a really important voice for the Annapolis community, and I'm delighted that you've been here, and thank you for everything over the last few years. So there's my, and to the senior staff here, I'm not going to begin to name all of you because I will miss someone or I'll go on forever, but we have been through so much together, and we have worked on some really important things over the last 6 years, and I just can't thank you all enough. I do appreciate and recognize how hard all of you work for our students, and the progress shows. So I appreciate that. Certainly to the teachers and staff of our schools. There's nobody more important than you in the school system, obviously. Thank you so much for being called to do this work. It's not easy by any stretch, and it's some of the most important work that goes on in the country and the world. So thank you so much. And to our students, you made all of this worthwhile for me. You're why I'm here. And just know that I believe, and every vote I ever took on any policy, any budgetary decision, was in the best interest of each individual one of you, because there's not a single student that cannot succeed. And it's our job it's been our job to provide you those tools. But I just can't thank our students enough. So that being said, I'm fully aware that I could not make everyone happy in the way that I served, in the votes that I've taken, because we have people from all different perspectives and all walks of life. Every criticism was met with a message of appreciation, and I did my best to serve the entire community in the very best interest of our students always. I just want to name a few things I'm proud of. I'm proud of considering the student in every policy and budgetary decision. That is what I'm most proud of. I'm proud of the mental health task force and the student wellness lens and really making that a priority. I regret that I didn't follow through more and couldn't do more with that, but I'm still a member of the community, and I will, that story is still to be told. I'm proud of my work as a community member and then as a board member on pursuing school hours that better align with students' bodies, a challenge that the next board and superintendent, I challenge the next board and the superintendent to allocate resources to ensure that no student has lengthy bus rides that negate this mission of healthy hours for our students. I am proud of leading the school system through a pandemic and fighting to get our schools open. Still have work to be done there, but we are definitely heading in the right direction. I'm proud of proposing a new direction for our school system and embarking on a search for a superintendent who could transform our school system from outdated practices that were the result of decades of additive requirements and expectations on our students and teachers. That's not a criticism of any one person, whoever was here before Dr. Bedell. It's a trend throughout the country for decades, but we are headed in a new direction with a new vision. I'm proud of coming together with every member of this board to select the superintendent with the right vision for our students. And there's a few things that I wish for as I leave. That members of this body recognize that the healthy balance that existed on this board the last 6 years will not be the same over the next 4 years, and that the board members put in the hard work of going outside their circles to ensure that all perspectives are well represented. I wish the very best for our incoming members, and I'm available for anything any of you need as you embark on this exciting yet very challenging transition. In District 4, I have met Sarah McDermott, and you are in very good hands. She's going to be a terrific voice for you. I wish that those that I have had the great pleasure to get to know and work with will stay in touch. We've been through so very much together. And finally, my wish for every single person who may possibly hear what I have to say gets involved. I've said over the years since I ran for office that everyone should run for office, because the experience is not about whether you win or not. It's the experience of reaching out and getting to know the people throughout your community and all these different perspectives. It makes you a better person. And maybe you don't have the means or the time to run for office yourself, but you can support others. And that's such important work. Everyone should be involved. And my little political plug, I don't consider politics to be an aisle. It's a spectrum. There's not one side or the other. Most of us fall all over that spectrum. And so you normally have more than two choices. You go out and you find the right people who represent your perspective. And hopefully the result of that is a very balanced system, which is what makes us the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. And now, Ms. Corkadell.
So for the same reason, I decided to prepare comments. And I'll just say that, you know, individually, if I have not already, I will definitely be reaching out to say more personal gratitude. But I did have some closing remarks I wanted to make. And so let me start by saying good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, though, I want to congratulate our new and returning school board electees. Each one brings expert education acumen and executive leadership skills to AACPS, and we are truly blessed to have them as our district leaders. None of us would be here and accomplish so much as board members without the support of our colleagues, communities, friends, and most important, family. I want to thank my MABE family for supporting me during my leadership years at AACPS. And most of all, thank my family. My mother, my husband, my son, daughter, and son-in-law. I love you all, and I'm so very grateful for the support, wisdom, and strength of courage you have given me over the years. Dr. Bedell and his awesome team have made my term so very memorable. You made me feel valued and well supported. I know you will make AACPS successful in every way. One of the greatest achievements of a school board member in Maryland is to be elected as the MABE president. And it was a humbling, truly humbling, and yet a very amazing experience indeed. To be a part of that family, that history, and their legacy was truly worth the additional time and effort I put forth. As president this year, I challenged every member and resident of Maryland to become the ace in the hole for our students. Well, you stepped up to meet the challenge and actually exceeded it. I am pleased to report that we got our seats at the table back, and we are now well positioned to take the challenge to the next level. We advocated with effectiveness and credibility, and folks at the State House looked up and listened. This should help serve us well in the upcoming Maryland legislative session. So how do we turn up the volume on our school district success? We remain engaged, purposeful, and look for opportunities to advance our student-forward platform while continuing to polish our personal apples through professional development, community engagement, and most importantly, strengthening our relationships with our strategic partners. We all need to be willing to cast aside our politics, our biases, our contempt, our trepidations. Each one of us in this room brings value to our district. And when we combine our unique strengths and diverse perspectives, I believe there is nothing we can't achieve. I've spent the last 6 years as a board member fiercely and persistently advocating for more resources for our AACPS classrooms, doing my best to fulfill the personal promise I made to my constituents in 2018, including modernizing our organization from top to bottom, improving our performance, ensuring continuity of operations during emergencies, and thanks to the Gibson audit I had proposed to my colleagues back then and managed on behalf of the board, resulted in a roadmap that provides more flexibility and resiliency for us and well positions us to better meet students' unique needs, all while trying to fix those potholes, those road collapses our state and local folks created for us. Caring about our students' health, safety, and education is simply no longer enough. Excellence in education through good governance, transparent ethical conduct, and dignity for all must remain our North Star. Decades of defunding our state agency and underfunding of local education agencies did make us more vulnerable to the consequences of that COVID epidemic. And although almost every agency at the state and local level was able to recover, rebuild, and resume normal operations, education was and still is recovering. We're now being told that our decision makers are out of money. Folks, our kids are out of time, and the data is conclusive. Our children are worth our continued support. And now it's time to fix that which can be, replace the no longer effective practices, fund our students in the right ways. With these sizable challenges in mind, and as a soon-to-be retiring school board member after 6 years of service, I hand the baton now over to you, my school board colleagues. I do so with full awareness of the enormity of the challenge, but even greater confidence in your collective ability to make tremendous progress on those fronts in the months and years to come. We can all agree that our students deserve simply no less. In spite of admittedly frustrating challenges like these, which we all face, I'm honest when I say that as I close out my local school system and MABE affairs, I can't deny it's with a heavy heart. For I've had the true honor, the very real privilege, truly it was, to work with so many talented educators and genuine leaders. As a result, I've grown personally and professionally, and even more important to me, became a part of what to me are unforgettable memories made, new skills shaped with both new and longtime friends. But to me, our journey together was more than just sharing great memories, making friends. It was about creating opportunities, closing gaps, inspiring our educators, and bringing quality education back to each and every student with dignity and respect. And now it's time to turn the page. Dawn Pulliam, my replacement, has spent the majority of her career as a humble public servant. Her willingness to contribute to her community's success and well-being as a school board member is admirable, truly, and I trust that she will be well supported by everyone as she continues representing the representation of District 7 here and all students within our county with benevolence, humility, grace, and courage. Fond farewell to you and yours. I will have nothing but high hopes and expectations for your continuing success in the days and years ahead. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, Dr. Bedell.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I will wrap this up. This is my fourth time going through this experience, 3 times in Kansas City, and now the fourth one here, but first in Anne Arundel County. And to Vice President Frank, former board presidents Ellis and Corkadale, I just want to say this, because I think it's important for this community to fully understand that you all had to navigate through some dark, dark days as board members in Anne Arundel County. And the reality is you were all in a lose-lose situation, because I was experiencing the same thing in Kansas City, that no matter what decision we made, 50% of people were going to be upset and 50% of people were going to be happy. And yet you made it through it. The diversity of thought, you heard several board members up here talk about that. And for the community, there's a lot of conversations that happen behind the scenes that you all are not privy to. But there's been a lot of conversations where I walk out to come out here, and I've said to my team, we're in good hands. Whatever dysfunction people may have thought of this board prior to me coming, I can tell you that the conversations in that back room, I think, allowed for me as a leader to avoid a significant amount of pitfalls that I could have walked into just by saying, let me run this by you, even though it's administrative. And I think the three of you offered an insight that ultimately helped to put rail guards in place around the decisions that we've made. We are a stronger system as a result of your contributions. And anybody who will say to you that you did not have impact, I have a significant amount of data and a significant amount of bold initiatives that I think right now has put Anne Arundel County in a leading position as one of the leading districts in this state. That is because of you. Most importantly, you guys brought me here. And you had a lot of opportunities to choose superintendents elsewhere. And the reality is you knew what you were getting, right? Y'all did your homework.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't matter to me whether you were Democratic or Republican. My actions and the positions that I've taken prior to coming here and still being here is that if it's not good for kids, we're going to have a problem. And I don't have a problem holding people accountable just as much as I want to be held accountable. But I think that this notion of belong, grow, and succeed will live on because we are a very diverse school district. We are a purple county, and we have a responsibility to make sure that everybody feels that they belong in Anne Arundel County, and that will continue on. But here's the small things that people don't also know. The evening, the number of after-hour calls, Saturday calls, the evening events that we've all had to spend time, the one-on-one school visits, right? The one-on-one conversations that allowed for us to make these decisions, that goes above and beyond the regular scope of what these board members had to do. And so they have to be present far above and beyond just showing up to a board meeting. And for that, I really appreciate you all. And then it's the bonding. We bonded at national conferences, right? Some of us were up 12 in the morning hanging out, right? We went shopping at the Orlando Premium. She talk about shoes. She was in Johnny Choos. Okay. So, Jimmy Choos. She got problems just like I have. Corinne got problems like me. Okay. But we found a way to bond. And even when Corinne says we've had some very spirited conversations, yes, we have. Yes, we have. And I don't think, again, you're not doing your job if we don't have those healthy, spirited conversations around how do we advocate for the people we need to advocate for. So in closing, here's the bottom line. I am a better superintendent today because of our crossing paths. I am a much better superintendent. It is a reason why I wanted to come here so I could get this diverse experience of understanding how to lead a school district that has pockets of suburban, urban, and rural areas. And understanding now that I have to think in a much more strategic manner than it just being a district that's all Republican or a district that's all Democrat. We got a little bit of everything in Anne Arundel County, and you all have taught me a lot. So I just want to say to you all, thank you. You will be missed. And yes, I do continue to have relationships with former board members. I will continue to have relationships with you all. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. And so at this time, I think we'd like to ask all of our three departing members to come down to the well in front of the dais. And yes, take the gifts that you got with you. There'll be some pictures, but I believe there's something else.
Let me move out the way. I think they go first, and then we all.
Right.
Right now? Okay.
just waiting for your cue.
We need some on this side. Here, you can. Yes.
Where are you at?
What are you doing? Y'all funny.
I feel like y'all aren't in the middle. They're not. Could you get them in the middle
We need to
first?
move
No, I
down.
want the picture. If you guys can move over a little bit.
So there's the pictures.
Okay, well, then
How
we
about
can
if
move
we
over
move
there.
down?
Yeah.
If we move down a little bit to get centered.
Oh, okay.
You're right, you're right.
Thank you.
Does that work?
It's on brand.
Okay, we're going to be moving on at this time. Public comments on agenda items. We do not have any comments at this time. So we're going to move on to our reports, item 4.01, our crash report. I believe we do have a video.
Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, Dr. Bedell, and members of the board. My name is Jason Semenoff Jr. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a proud freshman at Chesapeake High School. I'm so honored to be serving as the Crask Secretary of Education. I'm delivering my report virtually this month as I'm currently in AP U.S. History class. I look forward to joining you in person next month. During our recent town hall meetings, we discussed key topics such as the new grading policy and its impact on students, as well as the ongoing challenges related to Chromebook access. In recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we wore pink at our October executive team meeting, where we also completed a service project for the BWMC Healing Garden. For our November meeting, we wore green in support of mental health awareness, continuing the conversation from our earlier General Assembly. In addition to our recent voter drives, we are excited that we have 38 amazing students serve as Election Day pages at polling places and 23 students who assisted the Board of Elections with ballot returns on election night. We are grateful for the partnership with the Board of Elections and the many opportunities they offer for our students to be civically engaged. Avidum is an organization dedicated to mental health awareness and suicide prevention, working to educate, support, and reduce stigma. North County High School is the first in the state to establish an official Avidum club. To raise awareness and encourage other schools to start their own clubs, they invited CRASC and SGA members from all AACPS high schools to an informational session. During the talk, students learned about Avidum's founding, awareness strategies, and resources for those struggling with mental illness. The event also provided a safe space for students to share personal experiences and discuss how Avidum could help. It was a powerful opportunity to remind students they are not alone in their struggles. A special thanks to Burgers and Bands for their grant funding to support this event. Last week, the 2025 Maryland General Assembly student pages received congratulatory letters from the Senate President and Speaker of the House. We are so proud of the amazing student leaders who will represent our county for 2 weeks during the 447th season of the Maryland General Assembly. Selected candidates from AACPS can be found on the CRASC website and on the displayed side above. MASC is gearing up for its highly anticipated annual Fall Leadership Conference this Saturday at Havre de Grace Middle High School. This event is an incredible opportunity for students from across the state to connect, attend dynamic workshops, and explore ways to get involved at the statewide level. We are thrilled to be sending 53 attendees, with 14 of them stepping up as presenters. It's going to be an inspiring and action-packed day. In the most recent episode of Team Talk, our host, Suha Kim, discussed internships and apprenticeships with Ms. Kelly Stutzman, the Internship and Apprenticeship Program Manager for Work-Based Learning and Career and Technical Education at AACPS. In addition, she interviewed 3 of our phenomenal central office student interns. This episode is dedicated to empowering students by highlighting the valuable opportunities available to gain real-world work experience. Finally, I would like to take a moment to recognize Ms. Frank, Ms. Corkadell, and Ms. Ellis. We are deeply grateful for the dedication, vision, and hard work you've poured into your roles on the school board. As you transition into new endeavors, please know that your contributions had a lasting impact on shaping the future of our schools. We wish you all the best in this next chapter and extend our heartfelt thanks for your exceptional service and commitment. If any student wants to find out more about CRASC, make sure to check the calendar on the CRASC website for a list of upcoming meetings and leadership events. That's all for me. Have a happy Thanksgiving. See you in December.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 4.02, our CAC report. I don't believe we have a CAC report this afternoon. And item 4.03, budget committee report. The budget committee did not meet, and so we don't have that report. So we're moving on to 4.04, the president's report. And I do have that. On November 9, Dr. Tobin attended the Family Involvement Conference at Severn Run High School, and I believe she'd like to make a few comments at this time. Dr. Tobin.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yes, I was very fortunate. This is the second year in a row I had the opportunity to attend. I want to send my congratulations to Ms. Lombardi and the whole staff who put this together. It is an extraordinary program. I was there for the keynote speakers who were terrific and who speak around the country, and both in their public comments and privately to me indicated that this is not something they've seen in any other school district they've ever visited. And so I would simply like to make sure that people understand that while there's so many things going on any given Saturday in ACPS, this annual Family Involvement Conference is an incredible resource for families. It's a wonderful opportunity to access all sorts of resources. And the breakout sessions that were listed were unbelievable. So many things that different families can access. So I hope for those who weren't able to attend this year, you will keep an eye out. It happens, I believe, in the fall every year. And it's just a terrific opportunity. And my congratulations again to all the staff who were involved in this. It was a huge undertaking and beautifully done. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin. On Monday, the 18th of November, I had the opportunity to visit the IEC Chesapeake in Laurel during National Apprenticeship Week. IEC Chesapeake highlighted our registered youth apprentices here in AACPS. I had the opportunity to meet and greet some of our AACPS student apprentices who have chosen their post-secondary path to become licensed electricians. School to apprentice students are high school seniors from AACPS who have started their electrical career while still in high school. They work 4 mornings per week from 6:30 to 11:30 on the job, and they attend electrical instruction 1 morning per week. They attend high school every afternoon. But they also, I had the opportunity to ask a few questions. One of them was about extracurricular activities. And I asked that question, and the one young man from Chesapeake High School raised his hand and said, I play football. A football player. They also participate in athletics in AACPS as well as other extracurricular activities. After graduation, they will transition to full-time employment and year 2 of their 4-year apprenticeship to licensed journey worker. They are the embodiment of Maryland blueprint, and they are proof that great things are happening here in Anne Arundel County. So Monday was a busy day. On Monday, the 18th of November, we had a workshop here in the boardroom based on our strategic plan scorecard. Anne Arundel County will engage in a cycle of reviewing and revising our strategic plan in order to ensure that the work of the school system is coherent and aligned to its instructional core, learning for all of our students. I have to tell you, in a nutshell, it was a fantastic presentation. Thanks to Dr. Bedell, his entire staff, including Miss Anna Harding and Dr. Shannon Pugh, who did a marvelous job. And I know Dr. Bedell in his report will be addressing this as well. So that does conclude the president's report. At this time, we'll move on to item 4.05, superintendent's report. Dr. Bedell.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I have several important items that I want to get through. I want to start off by recognizing a number of athletic programs here in Anne Arundel County. We're in the midst of the fall championship season, and our teams and students are once again shining brightly. To date, we have brought home 9 state athletic championships and 1 individual championship to date, and I hope we're not done. Those numbers already put us ahead of where we were last year at this time. That's significant given the level of competition. In addition to the championships you see on the screen, we have 3 schools still alive in state football playoffs, so there's an opportunity to bring home more hardware. Congratulations to those who have won championships so far, and good luck to our teams that are still in the hunt. Our championships aren't limited to athletics, though. 2 schools, Old Mill in Class 2A and Broadneck in Class 4A, brought home state titles from the Maryland State Marching Band competition. In the Class 4A competition, our schools swept the top 3 places. Arundel finished second, and Savannah Park was third. Congratulations to everyone involved at those schools. For those who missed the board's workshop on Monday, we unveiled the scorecard that accompanies our strategic plan. And while it may be difficult to see this here, this scorecard is available and will be available on our website. It's live. You can see the link at the bottom there. It measures our progress towards achieving the goals listed under each of the priorities in our strategic plan. It's an open and transparent way for families, employees, students, and community to see how we're doing in meeting our goals. I would encourage everyone to take a look at the scorecard items, which can be found at www.aacps.org/strategic plan. I've also said on Monday that there are not necessarily a whole bunch of school districts that would do this because of the embarrassment of how some of the data looks. I simply have this belief that if you don't know where we're struggling, then you won't know how to help us. But what I've also said is this is also not an opportunity for people to tear the school district down because of us being transparent about where we are. And I think about an article that came out today. And again, when we don't necessarily have all of the context, people can read an article and think everything's falling apart. Reality is, Anne Arundel County's growing at a much faster rate than probably 95% of the districts in this state. Our data showed us number 3 and number 4 in English and math, respectively, in growth, and number 1 in the Baltimore region. And so when people just look at raw numbers, there's a body of work. And I want our educators to understand that they're working hard and that their work is being validated for the progress that we're making. We're not going to shy away from the realities of where we are in this county. We want to go from being a good school system to that being a great system. And I think what's also missing in that article is that on average, Anne Arundel County is outperforming across the board the state averages on all of these assessed areas. So I feel proud about the progress that we're making, but we want to continue to work. I want to share this with you before I move on to the next slide. I just received this at 11:35. One of our outgoing congressmen, John Sarbanes, sent this text to me. Kudos on the scorecard and the candor you're bringing with it. What gets measured gets done. So this is about transparency, about our realities on where we are. And I want to thank our school board for pushing us to make sure that we have that in place to measure the progress on our strategic plan. Current staffing vacancies. This is another area that we will constantly share with you. As you can see, teacher vacancies are at 67. I mean, the goal is we want to be at 0 across the board. Teacher assistants, that was at 42 not too long ago. It's dropped down to 38. You can see bus driver, alternative vehicle drivers. We just did bonuses for food service workers. That was at 118. So we can see that that's already making an impact. But we have a lot of work to do, and then you can see the other numbers. So we will continue to have this focus on vacancy reduction. So thank you on that. Finally, I talk a lot about the importance of the work we are doing and the way it is recognized on state and national levels. I like to highlight these whenever I can, and here are 4 more examples. Starting on the top left and moving along the bottom row of the slide on the screen, Walter Mills Parole Elementary School Principal Cheryl Cox, Network Assistant Superintendent Jolyn Davis, and Senior Manager of Accountability Michelle Hall, Senior Equity Specialist Katara West, and Tyler Heights Elementary School Principal Julia Walsh, and Community Schools Program Manager Sarah Daniels Larson, each had the opportunity to present on their work last week at the statewide principals conference. Congratulations to each of them for doing quality work that earned them the opportunity to present. On the top right slide is an ad for the National School Public Relations Association's upcoming annual conference. That's our Director of Communications, Monica Monk. And she is highlighted on that ad. Monica and Bob Mosier co-presented during a session at last summer's conference, and we're looking forward to doing another presentation at this conference, which will be held in Washington, D.C. Bob and I didn't know that she was the face of this national conference in terms of them marketing to get people to come. And that says a lot about the fact that whatever you all presented on, I know what it was phenomenal, but obviously this landed very well with the decision makers who have opportunities to figure out how they're going to market. And it's just something that I want people to understand. We continue to do exemplary work here in Anne Arundel County. We have a contingency that is landing now for the National Alliance of Black School Educators Conference. We will be also presenting at that conference. And I'm very proud that our teams are granted the ability to showcase the work that we're doing here that other school systems can replicate. Mr. President, I think there is one final slide. Let's show this. So we're going to close out with something very positive. This is students over at Sali Elementary. I want to say a year ago or so, I had an opportunity to go out there and just speak to students. And I spoke to students about my issues that I have with my love for sneakers and shoes. Okay. It is legit. Corinne didn't expose anything. I have issues. But these kids put this together. And I got it yesterday at a principal's meeting. And what I love about our tagline, you can see it on this shoe, belong, grow, succeed. It says a lot about how people are taking this 14-page strategic plan and we are living it, not just through the adults, but through our students. It just says a lot about the fact that when we go into these schools and we speak to students, even when you don't think they are paying attention, they listen. And there are some things that will come out that will pique their interest that made them decide to do this. I have to design a custom-made shoe for an event that's going to be a fundraising event in June. And I think I have my design. And I wanted to share that with this community. So I want to thank our students and the art teacher and the folks out at Sali Elementary for this. Mr. President, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Boy, that's a great way to report. And you know, I don't usually wear those shoes, but I'll buy a pair of those. I know, Dr. Bedell, you already have lots and lots of.
It's causing fights in my house, so I have backed off of buying shoes. My wife's like, "You have a problem." I'm like, "I know, I'm working on it."
Well, my wife is always trying to get me to wear something other than dress shoes. I'll wear that one. Thank you. Okay, we're going to be moving on now to presentation 5.01. We have some new course approvals this afternoon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Today, we are asking the board to take action on Unified Music and Leadership in Theater Arts Prime 3 to approve these particular courses. So before we do the presentation, the superintendent recommends approval of these courses beginning in the 2025-2026 school year as noted.
So
I'll pass it over to
moved.
staff.
Good afternoon, everyone. So for the record, my name is Christina Catalano. I'm the Chief Academic Officer, and today I'm joined by two of my colleagues.
Good afternoon, Michelle Batten, Assistant Superintendent, Curriculum and Assessment.
Good afternoon, Kevin Hamlin, Assistant Superintendent for College and Career Readiness.
Should I wait until? Thank you. Okay, so in accordance with policy IE curriculum, we do design courses that provide our students with rigorous, relevant, and inclusive opportunities. Additionally, in accordance with this policy, no course of study should be offered without prior approval of the board. As you know, our goal in AACPS is for all of our students to belong, grow, and succeed, and that includes supporting them in their growth academically. The two courses that are coming before you this afternoon do align and support three priority areas of our strategic plan: number 1, number 2, and number 4. And with that, I am going to turn things over to Ms. Batten to talk about unified music and leadership.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to propose this course on behalf of the music office and our coordinator, Jessica Valladay, who's here in the audience with us. And this course is specific to our high school students, and particular for students who are enrolled in our alternative curriculum course programs, as well as students seeking leadership opportunities. The standards are aligned to the fine arts standards by the state of Maryland. And this course is unique to students, as I said, in our ACC program to earn their fine arts credit, as well as the additional students to take as an elective that builds their interpersonal skills through an inclusive learning environment. This course complements 3 other courses currently in our program of study: Unified Physical Education and Leadership, Unified Dance and Leadership, and Unified Visual Arts and Leadership.
The Apex Arts Theater Prime 3 is a year-long middle school course for our Apex Arts Magnet program. 2 years ago, Apex Arts was excited to announce the launch of a new middle school Theater Prime. And last year, Apex Arts offered the Level 2 course for students who have successfully completed Theater Prime 1. This Prime Level 3 course allows for Apex Arts students to more specifically prepare for the existing high school theater design, and production primes. Inside the classroom, students will have the opportunity to uncover their many talents, passions, and interact with professionals from career fields in which they have interest.
And so with that, our timeline for implementation of both of these courses begins today with your approval of the courses. We will spend the summer developing the materials that align to the standards for these courses, as well as providing professional learning for our educators who will be implementing them. We do want to implement these courses in the fall of 2025. We'll take any questions.
Ms. Schauheim.
Firstly, I don't know if you heard, but after he gave the recommendation, I did say so moved. So I am moving to approve both of these.
I did hear.
Great. All right. Obviously, one of my, as I've said, I don't know how many times over the last 6 years, best parts of my job is one of them at least is approving new courses. I am particularly impressed with the addition of the unified music course, as you would imagine I would be. Hi there, Miss Valladay. Good afternoon. One of my favorite people back there, y'all. And I think this is a lovely addition, and I'm glad that you're going to offer it in all schools. And just kudos. Music education matters. It matters so much. It's a great number of kids why they come to school. Just like athletics, just like all the other ones, this is just as important. Thank you for recognizing that and developing this course. Thanks.
Ms. Ellis.
Yes, always been a big fan and advocate of the arts. My daughter did have the opportunity to participate in the unified dance class, and it's a great experience for everyone there. So I'm a supporter. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Dent.
So I just have two questions. The first one is how does the curriculum integrate both music and leadership? And then part two of that, is there a practical application to the leadership aspect of it?
Yes, I'll start off and I'll invite Ms. Valladay to come forward to expand on my response. But the course itself, as it relates to the fine arts standards, then takes an application process with the program of performance. So it's the portfolio of performing that really then embeds the leadership aspect that we are developing our students as they support the inclusive learning environment of all the students that are participating. Would you like to add anything?
Good afternoon, Jessica Valladay, Coordinator of Music. The leadership component is obviously a critical part of this, but I want to note before I talk a little bit about that we view all of the students in the class as being leaders. This is not a situation where we don't view the students in the ACC course as being able to be a leader in their own way. The leadership component focuses on things such as teamwork, collaboration, and communication skills, which are important for all of our lives. Those of us that are in college and career ready paths and have gotten out into the workforce, we use all of those skills on an everyday basis. So the goal is really to provide those leadership skills to all of our students so that they can continue to use them in any future education or work goals.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you, Ms. Valladay. That was a question I had, and I really appreciate that because I think that is one of the most important things about the unified program in general. I also want to express my appreciation, both these courses of the Theater Prime, because just as with sports and so many other things, I find one of the big inequities is what opportunities children have to get involved in the performing arts often. And so I'm delighted to see this. I think as a theater parent myself and as a former theater professional myself, I also believe that theater classes teach more than theater. They're valuable just as music teaches more than just music, though that would be great if it were just music. So I just want to say I'm truly grateful at this moment to see us expanding into these corners and really living our mission with this. So thank you.
Ms. Frank.
Yes, thank you. I want to start by saying I think both of these courses are excellent courses. I'm excited to see that these types of offerings are being included. I have not supported courses in the past, and I will not be supporting it today, but it's because of the process that we have, and I've been trying to advocate for a different process. So I would just say, as a board member receiving this, I would really like to see what is going to be taught. I appreciate that you take the time and you're explaining it to us, and you are here to answer questions. But to be able to read it, review it, have it on our board documents so that the public can read it and review it, I think is a really valuable piece of this when you're saying what is going to be taught in these classes and why are we approving them. I know that curriculum isn't developed yet, and there is a fine line between you don't want to spend too much time before it's approved and making sure that the board sees what they need. But I would just advocate for the last time to kind of include that in what is presented to the board, because I just don't feel like I can support something that I haven't seen. And it's really just more of a philosophical view on how our process goes about. So I think these are great courses. As a theater mom myself, I love them. I grew up in theater. So I'm glad to see that we have these offerings. I'm sure it will pass today, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Frank. So I know we did have Ms. Shaham, we did have a motion. I didn't hear a second. Was
I'll
there a
second.
Okay, so I've heard the second. Is there any more board discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Schulheim,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Ms. Hamdowie,
Aye.
Ms. Frank,
Nay.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Ms. Ellis,
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell,
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye,
Motion passes 7-1.
Thank you.
thank you. So we're moving on to some consent items, award of contracts. Do I hear a motion to bundle?
Motion to bundle item 6.01 to 6.06.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, Ms. Howe.
I need to do that. Hold on.
Oh,
Yeah. Mr. President, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education authorize the award of contracts under the consent items numbered 6.01 through 6.06.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
okay, so we had consensus on the bundle. So we're now voting on the motion. Is there any discussion? Okay, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Schulheim,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Ms. Hamdowie,
Aye.
Ms. Frank,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Ms. Ellis,
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell,
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, Dr. Bedell.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people understood that may have come in late, that item 6.07 was, there was an amendment to move that off for a future board meeting. That's why we didn't take action on it, ask the board to take action on it today.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Okay, so moving on to action items 7.01, administrative personal appointments.
We have none.
Okay, 7.02, Monarch Academy Annapolis Public Contract School, the contract school renewal.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, we will have our building administrators to come up along with Patrick Crane that will take us through the presentation. Both these schools, Monarch Academy Annapolis, I think is the first one that we will go through, and then we will then move forward with, where's the other one? Chesapeake. Why don't I see that in? Yeah, Chesapeake Science Point. I wanted to make sure. And this is just regarding charter renewal. As superintendent, I can give you all assurances that we as an administration have been very pleased with the progress both of these particular sites have made. And we will allow for these administrators to take us through this presentation. And then what we will do is come back and we'll put out a motion for the board to take action on the renewals. So I'll pass it over to you all.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bedell. So good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. For the record, my name is Pat Crane, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Options and School Climate. Before you are the superintendent's recommendations for both Monarch Academy Annapolis and Chesapeake Science Point. Joining me today are the principals of those schools, and I'm thrilled that they're here to walk you through a short presentation to show all of the amazing work that they've done over the last contract renewal. I also want to make sure that we recognize Dwight Jefferson, former principal at Chesapeake Science Point. It's important for Mr. Jefferson to be up here today. A lot of the work that we're going to be talking about with Chesapeake Science Point was done under his watch. So kudos to Mr. Jefferson and all the work that he's done. At this time, I'll allow these gentlemen to my right to introduce themselves.
Shay Johnson, Principal, Monarch Academy, Annapolis.
Good afternoon, Darrell Owens, Principal, Chesapeake Science Point, Middle High.
Good afternoon, Dwight Jefferson, former Principal of Chesapeake Science Point and now Director of College Career Readiness, Secondary Schools.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. The 24-25 school year represents the final year of both Monarch Academy Annapolis and Chesapeake Science Point's contracts. The contract renewal process included many steps. You have in front of you a report entitled Evaluation Findings Renewal Report, which sets out all of the qualitative and quantitative data that has been compiled over the last contract term. Many of the key indicators of a charter school's performance can be measured in specific areas such as academic achievement, parent satisfaction, compliance to the original charter, as well as their financial position and school climate. We believe these reports accurately and transparently support Dr. Bedell's recommendation for renewal, as well as reflect the progress that both schools have made over the course of their current contract terms. Under each of the previously mentioned indicators, as well as areas that are in need of attention and continued monitoring, many of the strengths that you will hear about today from both principals include their consistent improvement as it relates to student achievement over the course of the current contract, the unique teaching methods offered through a research-based, real-world, authentic lens, and consistent implementation of the school's mission and vision. Additionally, a high level of parent satisfaction and teacher satisfaction is evidenced through high retention rates of both staff and students, and full compliance to their charter agreement and district requirements. Monarch Academy Annapolis has been in operation since 2017, and this represents their first contract renewal. I'm thrilled and I'm excited to provide Shay Johnson the opportunity to talk to you all about his school. I think some of the challenges that Monarch Annapolis has had over the last 7 years have been well documented. It's clear that they've had a lot of leadership changes. We are thrilled with Mr. Johnson's leadership. He's been there now for 3 years, and he has single-handedly, along with his staff, turned that school around. And I'm so thrilled and excited for him to go through his presentation with you all today, so you can see the amazing work that they're doing there. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, Dr. Bedell. My name is Shay Johnson. Again, I'm currently the principal at Monarch Academy Annapolis, the proud principal at Monarch Academy Annapolis. I want to start off today by allowing you all to look at the acronyms just for a few seconds to make sure that we're all on the same page as we move through our presentation. What is the history at Monarch? What is our mission? At Monarch Academy Annapolis, we educate the whole child by empowering students to embrace diversity, inspire curiosity, and cultivate compassion. I would like to share with you all a few things that has helped us grow as we have moved along throughout our journey so far. One of the things that we're excited about is our Title I school, our Title I program. We were targeted in 18-19, and today we're a school-wide Title I school. So we're excited about that. We added pre-K in 2020. We started out with 40 students. Today, we're at 120 pre-K students. So we're moving in that area, and we're growing rapidly. So we're excited about that. In 2022, we were accredited by our PYP. We're an IB school, which allows our students and our teachers to be extremely creative, and we are growing, and we're excited about that. This year is a new year for us with community school. We partnered with Annapolis City, and we had a whole brand new gym built this year. So we're opening it to the community. So we're excited about where community schools will take us and how we'll grow in the community of Annapolis. Our enrollment. Currently, we sit at 634 students from grades pre-K3 through grades 5. If you look at our demographics, you'll see that we're a very diverse school, very diverse. We sit at 22.4% English learners, our 74% free and reduced meals, and currently we're at 8.4% for our special education students. In Annapolis City, we were created to alleviate overcrowdedness in Annapolis. We have done that. We've done a great job with opening up our schools, working hard to make sure that our parents are choosing us. And that's where we are now today at 634 students. If you could take a look at the geographic diversity out of the 83 schools in Anne Arundel County Public Schools, the 83 elementary schools, we serve 65 different elementary schools. We are opening up our school to parents, and parents are choosing us. So we are excited about the growth. We are excited about the excitement around Monarch Academy Annapolis. Our academic programs. We are a proud partner of the Children's Guild. They are our authorizer. And we are excited about that. I wanted to share our whole child service approach with you. I've heard so many times everyone mention COVID. So that's where our child service approach comes in. Our students came back and they were not emotionally ready to learn. So at our school, we have an extremely strong social emotional learning program where we have which is led by our school counselor, 2 deans of students, and 2 behavior coaches, where we have a structure that makes sure that if our students come in, they're having a rough morning, they're having a rough week, we are in contact with parents, we are creating a plan, and we have a structure for them to be in class, because that's what they're there for. Education is first. Another thing I'd like to share that comes upon of our IB program that I shared with you earlier is our global context. We choose Spanish to be our foreign language of choice. Every kid in our school, pre-K3 through grade 5, receives Spanish in our school. We're extremely proud about that, and we will continue to be intentional about Spanish and growing our students. I'd like to talk about our Title I program. We come to realize that our students need some extra help. So we did some deep data diving and realized that we needed to focus on our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grades. And they are allowed to join a 12-week program through Title I that allows them to do 6 weeks of math, 6 weeks of reading after school, which allows them to grow even more in a smaller environment and become more comfortable. Also, I'd like to talk about our co-teaching model that we just started this year, and it has paid dividends already, and we're only in November. Building teacher capacity. That's really what we're about, because we know that if our teachers are growing and our teachers are learning, they're going to make sure that our students are growing and learning. Our literacy teachers, math, ELD, and our special education teachers all co-teach with at least 1 classroom teacher. And the data shows that a lot of new teachers that's coming into the state of Maryland and to our county, they're not certified teachers. So this co-teaching model for us at our school, it allows our experienced teachers to go in the classroom with some of our inexperienced teachers and grow them. So we're excited about continuance of growth with our co-teaching program. What is the value of attending Monarch Academy in Annapolis? So I look at this as the instructional building leaders 2 ways. I look at it for my teachers, and I look at it for the students. For the students, students are exposed to diverse cultures, right? We definitely are a diverse school. We want all of our students to be able to celebrate. We take each month where there's a celebration of a different culture, we take it very seriously, because we want our students to be able to grow outside of their neighborhood community. So that is great for our students. For my teachers in the building, I believe in building teacher capacity. They have to grow. They have to know that where they are and where they come to every day, we believe in them and we want to see them grow. So we offer an extra 2 hours of professional development on Wednesdays. And we also make sure that we have conversations with them about what do you want to see in your future in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go? What did you feel like you could grow in this year? And we were able to be successful with that. And that's why you'll see later as I present that we're having a high teacher retention. So some data from this past school year I'd like to share with you all. I'd like to start with ELA, jump over to attendance, and then I will return to math, because I'd like to share some projected numbers that's forthcoming soon that will show you all that we are working and that we are moving our data. If you read the report, you can see it. We've grown by 5.9% in our ELA scores. Our 3rd through 5th graders all made significant growth over 2.99%, and our 5 out of our 8 groups met the AMO. So we're extremely excited about where we are in our ELA data. So we're going to keep continuing to be consistent. As far as attendance, we're excited about our attendance because we're moving in the right direction. 3 of our student groups met the local target, our English learners, our Hispanic, Latino, and students with disabilities. And we finished with 84.3% of our students not chronically absent. So as we continue to push and get better, we'll continue to see those grow. I wanted to come over to math and just share some small increases. Math, as you'll see as we go forward, it's an area of growth for us that we're continually working hard with. We increased the percentage of our grade 4 students by showing proficiency, and we increased our Black and African American students growing by proficiency by 3.5%. Over on my right-hand side, we talk about our ESSA house, right, where every student counts. We learned with some projected data that's coming out that our math scores will grow by 2.5%. And we've learned that our ELA scores will go up another 3.5%. We've also made growth in chronic absenteeism in our ESSA house. So these projected growths will have us moving closer to a 4-star school. That is our goal. Of course, our goal is to get to a 5-star school. One step at a time. We're moving closer to a 4-step school, and that will absolutely allow us more confidence as a school. It'll have our teachers extremely confident as we get ready to move towards a 4-star school. Our ATS scores. We had 4 of our student groups that were looked at as being low in 17, 18. Those are our economically disadvantaged, our SPED group, our Black and African American, and our Hispanic groups. In 22, 23, those groups were removed from the ATI. So we have really been putting in some work to remove our students to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. I wanted to share a little matriculation data with you all because I get excited about how our students move. We believe in bringing our students back. So this year, 25 will be the first year that our first 5th grade class graduates from Anne Arundel County High Schools, and we're excited about that. Also, we go out of our way to make sure that students that choose us have the opportunity to attend some of these amazing magnet programs in our county. We had 15 out of 31 students accepted last year, and we will have more students this year, so we're excited about that. You know, being at Monarch Academy in Annapolis, one of the things that I realized is that if we're going to be successful, we have to have teachers come back into the building. And I want to share that last school year, we had 93% of our teachers return, and that improved every year since 2021. And being transparent, in 2021, that was at 62%. We have our teachers returning, and they are enjoying being in the building. Not only are our teachers returning, we're talking about student retention. We're a charter school, so our parents have to choose us. So we ask our parents to choose us, and they did. 97.4% of our students returned in 23-24, and that was an improvement since the school began in 17-18, which it was very low at 30%. So we are working extremely hard to make sure that we retain our students. The next 7 years. Where does it take us? We definitely want to be reauthorized with our IB. We love our primary years program. It allows our teachers some creativity. We're very thankful to Anne Arundel County that we're allowed to do that. So it allows our teachers to, 1, build on experiences, but 2, it builds their capacity. And that's what we want to make sure. Being a new community school, we want to bring community to our families. We have a brand new gym that we want to make sure that families can visit. We want to make sure that our schools get an opportunity to play. We have a beautiful facility. We want to bring our communities and make sure that they are there with us and sharing all of the things that we go. So I want to talk about data. Math is definitely an area where we need to grow. We have dug really, really deep to show where the data tell us. We've created a plan that we are extremely confident that will show that we're growing our numbers throughout the next year or so. We're extremely excited about the plan. We've added some new people to the team. We have added an amazing Title I math coach. So now we have 2 math coaches. So we feel like we're moving in the right direction with math. ELA, we are going to continue to stay consistent and continue to grow our numbers because we have been consistent. Last but not least is professional development. As the instructional building leader, I believe in growing people. I have grown my assistant principals. We've been fortunate enough in my time here as principal to have 2 assistant principals become principals here in the county. I believe in growing my teachers. And so professional development, working with the Anne Arundel County Resources team has shown us that we can only get better by working together. So I want to make sure that I continue to do professional development at a high level. I want to make sure that we continue to work and make sure our teachers grow. I thank you for my time. That's all that I have today. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Shay.
I just wanted to thank you for a very thorough presentation and report. I did read it. I am impressed with the progress, and I'll be fully supportive. And just thank you for all you're doing for our students. I'm particularly impressed with the dual language immersion. It should be in every school, quite frankly. I think we know this. It isn't. and because it isn't, my child has taken private Spanish lessons since the first grade. And so I understand the benefits of that. And I just commend you for valuing that and placing a great deal of importance in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. Thank you first, Mr. Crane, for answering a number of my questions when we met last week. I thought that was a great presentation. I was at the school, I think about a year and a half ago for a visit. I'd like to come back.
Always welcome.
I'm delighted to see the progress. I know you all were really struggling with attendance as everybody was when we were coming back from COVID and getting back in the habit of school, so to speak. But I think this is great data, and I'm glad to see you're here and the consistency of leadership, because obviously it's making a difference. And I think obviously the majority of the students do come from the Annapolis cluster, and I think as it now stands, this is a great addition to the Annapolis school opportunities, and I look forward to seeing continued progress. And I hope we'll hear more about your progress in math and sort of how you tackle that, because one of the things that charter schools are intended to do is to offer opportunities for practices that can be shared. And, I'm sure you continue to do that, but I look forward to hearing more. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Frank.
Yes, thank you. It was a really informative presentation. Thank you very much for that and the packet that we received. I did just want to comment on the student retention piece. I wanted to thank you for including that, because I know that we had some drop off with some of our COVID years, but just to show that the students that are there post-COVID and who are learning are eager to learn and want to come back and want to be in the building under your leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more lights, Dr. Bedell.
Yes, just to close out this presentation, one of your assistant principals that I think I participated in hiring is at Germantown Elementary, Brad Clapper.
Yes.
So again, I just want to reiterate not only the value add that these programs are bringing to the school district, but also the ability for these leaders to prepare future leaders that are going to have a larger impact overall on our community is to be commended. So I just want to say that. And the superintendent recommends a contract renewal for a term of 7 years for Monarch Academy Annapolis Public Contract School.
So moved.
Second.
Good job.
Okay, I hear a motion in a quick second. Is there any more discussion from the board? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Schallheim.
Aye.
Ms. Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Hamdawi.
Aye.
Ms. Frank.
Aye.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. Ellis.
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell.
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you. Before we move on to Chesapeake Science Point, I was going to highlight the amazing group that came from Monarch Annapolis to support their principal today, but you've heard from them, so you know they're here. That shows the love and support they have for this guy right here, so we're proud of him. Before I turn it over to Mr. Owens for his report, I want to remind the board that this renewal recommendation includes both the elementary school and the middle high school. So if you remember back in 2023, the board voted to merge both the elementary and the middle high together. We would like those schools to be together under one contract. We just think it makes sense. They're one school. They should be under one charter. So after this presentation, if you all vote to affirmatively approve the contract moving forward, we'd like you to do that with both the elementary and the middle high together. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Owens, who's in his first year. He's up here today after all of 4 months on the job. So no pressure, Mr. Owens, but I know he'll do a great job. We do have Mr. Jefferson here today as well, if there are any questions that we need to pull him in on. So prior to Mr. Owens coming here, he worked in Prince George's County Public School, and he was a teacher, a math instructional coach, and assistant principal, and a principal in Prince George's County. And we're thrilled to have him as part of our team and our family. And at this time, I'll turn it over to you, Darrell, for your presentation.
Real quick, because I think it's important for you all to hear this. Yes, he's only been here 4 months, but before anybody comes out here to present in front of the community, they go through a very thorough dry run. He is ready. So I'm ready, man. Let's get it.
All right. Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. For the record, my name is Darrell Owens, and I'm the proud principal of Chesapeake Science Point Middle High School. This morning, I sent my staff a message, and in that message, I thank them for the hard work and the support that they've given. Everything that you'll see in this presentation is a result of the hard work of Principal Jefferson and the staff at Chesapeake Science Point Middle High. I ended that message this morning with a quote that says, "Teaching is a work of heart." I believe it's the heart of our staff and our students and our school community that make Chesapeake Science Point the school that it is. Our mission statement: in partnership with families and the educational community, CSP provides an innovative, diverse, and safe learning environment that fosters the growth of academic, social, and emotional skills. The rigorous STEM curriculum prepares students to become college and career ready in an ever-changing global society. As you look at our mission statement, you can see that it's very coherent with our AACPS model of belong, grow, and succeed. At the top right, you'll see our CLF motto: safe and supportive environment, scholarships, which focus on critical thinking, effective communication, and social responsibility, community engagement, and our STEM focus. Focusing particularly on the scholarship aspect, this also mirrors almost exactly the portrait of a graduate through AACPS. A little bit about Chesapeake Science Point. Currently, we enroll 558 students in grades 6 through 12. You'll see in the middle, you'll see our demographics for some of our student groups. And over the last 5 years, we've actually seen growth in the number of special education students, students who receive free and reduced meals, and our Black and African American student populations have all grown in the last 5 years. CSP academics. CSP provides all students with the opportunity to take advanced and honors courses. That's one of the beauties of CSP. On one of my visits to classroom, I've stopped by our 9th grade students who are taking a college course. And I just told them, I had to encourage them. I was like, you don't understand. Just if I was a high school student, this would have been a great opportunity for me. And I just wanted them to know how proud I was of them. And I wanted them to continue. I'm really grateful for our partnership with Anne Arundel Community College, which gives our students an opportunity to start engaging in college courses as early as 9th grade. Also with advanced placement, we have students as early as 9th grade who are taking advantage of our advanced placement courses. And students also have access to STEM-based courses in computer science, physics, chemistry, and biology. Our CSP achievements. We've been a 5-star school every year since 2018. Somebody would say, well, since you're a 5-star school, you don't have any room for improvement. My team and I would disagree. We do have some areas where we can improve. One of the things that we notice is that while our math growth is growing, our math proficiency is not moving at the same rate. So that's something that we need to take a look at. Students are showing growth. So they're moving from year to year, but in terms of proficiency. And so my team and I were taking a look at, looking at certain student groups and making sure that we're providing them with targeted support to be able to help make sure that they're successful. And school year 23-24 for advanced placement, Chesapeake Science Point saw a 13% increase in the number of students that earned a score of 3 or higher. That's really important when we talk about preparing students for college and career, especially the college component, because we know students that earn a 3 or higher on AP exams are able to receive college credit. It also was the highest in the district. CSP was also awarded for our overall performance, as well as providing access to AP. So one of the things, so for CSP, we received the silver honor roll for AP. And so that deals with 3 components. The first is college culture. College culture essentially just looks at the percentage of our seniors that are actually taking at least one AP class. The other component is college credit. That would be looking at our students who score 3 or higher. The other piece is college optimization, meaning that students start as early as 9th or 10th grade taking an AP class, and you see in their schedule that each year they continue to take a class, and they had to have taken at least 5. So again, that speaks to the work that our students are doing as in AP classes. In school year 23-24, again, I mentioned it previously, we have a great partnership with Anne Arundel Community College. So of the 22 seniors from across Anne Arundel County Public Schools, that would mean all high schools in Anne Arundel County, of those 22 seniors, 16 of those seniors that received transfer studies degrees, which is an associate's degree, which means these students did the work to earn 60 credits. 16 of those students were from CSP, which is approximately 73%. So in addition to our academic performance, we also have our STEM clubs that are performing excellently at our national competitions. You'll see our national first robotics team place 4th, and our bridge builder group place 1st. Our CSP data. So CSP outperformed the county and the state on the assessments that you see listed below. I will tell you that the outperformance was by double digits in each of those subjects that are listed. So we're truly proud, and it speaks to the heart of our teachers and our students and the work that they're putting in. Our graduation rate has been 100% for the past 4 years. So our students are all of our students are graduating. 100% of our students are getting accepted into college. 85% of those students are moving on to a 2 or 4 year school. And we tell our students at CSP, our goal for them is that they are enrolled, employed, or enlisted. So after they finish their high school career, our job is to make sure that they're successful in college and career. Our next steps. So we're looking at a new facility and expansion. So our new facility would house our middle school students. As you can see, in 2023, the Board of Education approved a merger between the elementary and the middle high school with an increase of 430 students by 2028. So again, our new building will house our middle school students. Again, we're truly proud of the work that we're doing at CSP. I'm truly proud of the heart of our teachers, of our staff, of our students in our school community. And we want to continue to make sure at CSP that we're providing access and opportunity for all of our students to feel like they're able to belong, grow, and succeed. Thank you so much for your time and this opportunity.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Owens. Questions?
Okay, let me see, Ms. Schauheim.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say congrats. This is highly impressive, all of it. As you know, I represent District 5, so, you know, we competitive too, but this is like a whole new level. So, yeah, just thank you for everything you're doing for the students.
Thank you.
Ms. Ellis.
Thank you. I know I didn't speak on the previous presentation, but for both of you, very informative. And I really appreciate everything that you presented here, but particularly the work that you're doing. Dr. Bedell, you weren't kidding. Mr. Holmes was very prepared and a very good presentation that left me with no question about where we need to go here. Mr. Jefferson, one of the very first schools that I visited, and you remember, that's the point I was about to make, is this work gets done because of the people. That success is because of the investment of the people. And I was in awe when I visited, and every student that you crossed paths with on that visit, you knew them personally, you knew something about them and had a conversation that made it clear. And that makes such a huge difference for students when they feel like they belong, and I'm sure they feel like they can't fail, you know, because they have that support. And Mr. Crane, I said I wasn't going to call out the staff today because, again, I could go on forever, but since you're right here in front of us, one of my favorite moments of every board meeting is when you're sitting there, because I know I am a huge advocate for alternatives in education, for charter schools when they're done right. We learn from each other. We can't get better if we do everything the same way. And so this is such important work. And Mr. Crane, thank you for over the years for all that you've been doing. But I'm obviously very much in favor. And I just couldn't sit here and not speak up about it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Tobin.
Yes, thank you. Another great presentation. And I too enjoyed an early visit in my time on the board, and I hope to get back soon. Obviously, all sorts of great information and great data. Thank you. It's wonderful to see our students at CSP doing so well and getting so many great opportunities. I'm also particularly happy to see, I think, the results of the weighted lottery also having some impact. I think that's wonderful. And I hope that continues. So all of our students get these great opportunities that you're offering. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Frank.
Yes, thank you. Again, excellent presentation. I appreciate you coming in and sharing this with us. What I think I most appreciated was your comment that we still are always looking to improve. I really appreciated that you broke down exactly where you want to seek improvement so that you are consistently growing. And I appreciated that comment greatly. I also wanted to, I see a couple of faces in the audience from our Chesapeake Lighthouse Foundation partners. Thank you so much for making sure that your presence speaks to how passionate you are about all of this. So I just want to thank everybody for such a great experience that we can offer to our students. So thank you.
Ms. Dent.
Good afternoon. As always, excellent presentation. What I really enjoy about our charter school systems is their ability to serve the community and to ingratiate their strategic vision into what the needs of the community. And Mr. Jefferson knows this all too well. When I visited him, I really wanted to know not so much what you're doing for the students, is what are you doing for the communities that the students are coming from, which is very important, not only just to me, but to the individuals that are trying to be part of the lottery, right? So how do we do this at a better way? And what I am going to share with you, Mr. 4 months, a lot of students trying to get into CSP. I get calls on it, if not every other month. I can't explain it either. But here's what I will tell you. Whatever you all are doing, you're doing it right. And I appreciate that you're doing it so much to where we have to have a lottery program for students to be able to want to come to your school. That's always a good thing. I just left a STEM conference, and one of the things that I think that we do very well here in AACPS is we are able to not just collaborate, but we're able to put STEM at the forefront of everything that we're doing. And when I was out at CSP, I was really in awe about all of the things that you all are doing in that STEM community. And so what I'm going to share with you is more so that as you are building what you want the future to look like and the things that you're going to improve on, I always think that how do we make school and community more collaborative? And so some of the things that we do at Meade High School and a couple of other high schools is that we work with some of our community partners and DOD partners to be able to put the things to use. And it's now that you have expanded to a middle and high school, a lot of our community partners are interested in starting at the middle high school. It's a lot of legwork for 83 other schools to start at the elementary level, right? But at the middle school, it's attainable. And so as you all are building out your future, think about the community partners on how we can collaborate, because I think we're doing a good job at getting the information and becoming a part of a community school. But I would ask that you expand your community so that the research that is being done in these various different STEM needs organizations actually is aligning with the curriculum that we're getting. So at the end of 2029, right? We have a future and a foundation for children that are students that are now entering your halls that can graduate and be college and career ready, and really I think I wanted to say, make sure that we are focusing on that career ready program. So thank you all, Mr. Jefferson. Congratulations on your new position. I know that you're going to do an excellent job in a career. I'm looking at them, but I heard you say career college ready director. So I know you hear me loud and clear about what I'm going to. So if you need anything from me, please let me know. But I look forward to seeing each one of you all in your own habitats. Thank you.
Ms. Crocodile.
That was so cool. That was so cool. No, I don't have any questions. I first want to thank all of you and welcome to the Anne Arundel County education community. Welcome aboard. So 18 years ago, I had a request for a meeting from this Livewire guy named Spears, who wanted to share with me a little bit about what charter schools can be doing for our public education system. At the time, I was engaged in county as the chair of the Planning Advisory Board, ran for council, continued to meet with these folks, and continued to support what I was seeing. Fast forward, coming on to the Board of Education, it was one of my very first privileges and honors to be able to support now at a very direct level all the good work that our charter schools are doing. And Chesapeake Science Point was my first real introduction and deep dive. I mean, God bless Spears, he gave me like this stack of stuff to read up, and there was research in there, and there was everything else. He said, I don't care if you're school board, county council, whatever you're doing or even advising these people, it's important to know and to understand why this is going to be a game changer for the students in our county. And as we've continued to grow that network, we have found that it has not taken away anything on the public school and further enhanced and blessed our community in so many different ways. So I just want to say thank you, and that I've been aboard the train when it was just a caboose and a cool little box car there, and watching you guys grow and continue to help folks and overcome challenges too. These are not easy endeavors, and it's what we learn and what we do afterwards. And so every single challenge, you guys have met it straight on, squared off, and has not shied away from the community. And that is why the partnership, I think, continues to grow and flourish. So thank you guys all very much. And as usual, I know I can trust our staff in that detail and analysis, so that what is presented to me allows me to independently review the parts and the pieces on the oversight account. And so, true testament. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Crocodile. So 4 months, huh?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Riddell.
All right.
4 months. And what I heard was they outperformed all AACPS schools by double digits. Wow.
Let's give Mr. Jefferson some kudos and credit for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it makes me wonder, can you come back in 4 months and tell me where you are? So as someone who believes in the R word relationships, you evidently are building the appropriate relationships with all the stakeholders, and you're doing it right. So I thank you for the presentation. That's all the lights that I see, Dr. Bedell.
All right. So as we close out, as you all know, you've heard this multiple times. Dwight Jefferson is a talent, and we truly believe in when we identify talent, we're going to find a way to move them up so that they can have a larger impact. And I think Ms. Dent articulated that there are things that we all want to see take place around experiences for kids from this college and career readiness aspect, that your experience will bode well for the county as a whole. Principal Owens, when we did our dry run, I do not remember hearing about the 3 E's. Maybe I missed that, but I'm telling you, I'm hijacking that. Enrolled, employed, or enlisted. Really love that. And I think it's something that we all should be making sure that when our kids leave our respective schools, that one of those 3 things have taken place as they pursue their their whatever their post-secondary endeavors are. And then finally, just for the audience and this board, I will reiterate this. We are very competitive when we look at data. This isn't intentional, these conversations about not being satisfied with where you are because you are a 5. One of the things that I've challenged every single principal in this county is whether you are a 2, 3, 4, or 5 rated school, do you know where you rank against the 2s in the state? Do you know where you rank against the 5s in the state? So it's great to be 5, but if you are bottom barrel 5, you could fall back to a 4. So what are you doing to make sure that you are truly a top 5 rated school? And that mentality is already here in place. And so I thank you for what you shared about, yes, we are a 5-star rated school, but we aren't where we need to be. That is the mindset I want to have for all 130 schools that is in this county. So thank you. And with that, the superintendent recommends a charter renewal for a term of 7 years for the Chesapeake Science Point Public Charter School, which will include Chesapeake Science Point Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Pretty quick. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Shawhan?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdawi?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to be moving on to some policy revisions on third reading, item 7.04, non-discrimination code AC.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will have Grace Wilson to come up. She will take us, this is the third reading for this policy, so we are asking the board to take action. The superintendent recommends approval of policy AC, subject to final correction for style and format.
So moved.
Good.
Okay, do I have a second also?
Second.
Motion and a second, Ms. Wilson.
Good afternoon, President Silkworth, Vice President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. I'm Grace Wilson, the Senior Legislative and Policy Specialist for the district. Policy AC non-discrimination is before you on third reading and is being revised in accordance with state law to prohibit discrimination in educational programs and employment based on military status. And I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
Okay, Ms. Frank.
Yes, thank you. So I wasn't at the last meeting, and I apologize for that. So I wasn't able to sort of reach out at that point. And I was not planning to speak to this policy today. However, I had a staff member who's a friend reach out to me this morning with some comments, and I thought it was kind of relevant to this policy because they specifically asked, and they're an AACPS employee, about political discrimination or partisanship discrimination. And I don't see that in this policy. I do know that we have it in other policies. I do agree with the military change. I'm not saying that I don't. I am just wondering, as we had that conversation previously, why wasn't that sort of translated into this policy? And I'm going to support this policy. I just would like to ask the questions, have them answered, and then put it as part of the conversation.
Absolutely. So policy AC non-discrimination is based on federal, state laws and regulations regarding non-discrimination. So these are protected classes established in statute or regulation. Political classes is not one of those. When the board considered, I believe it's our bullying policy, there was a motion made to include political classes in the protected classes for bullying. So that was a decision of the board to expand that language beyond what was required, and I believe it was state law at that time. So Staff has recommended for that this policy and regulation be in accordance with federal, state laws and regulations. It's up to the board whether they'd like to extend it.
Okay. So I do want to read what this person's concerns were. So that as we develop policy in the future, I won't be here, but I think it's very relevant, especially with the conversation we've had today. We're recognizing diversity of thought and how that affects our community. And they said that as an AACPS, I wanted to share with you that we've heard that this is a purple county. We know that the colors red and blue make purple, red for the right, blue for the left. But we've also heard that our leadership doesn't care if students are red or blue, but does that apply to employees and staff? Recently, I was asked by a fellow colleague, does your support of President Trump and being a Republican cause tension and friction for your Black and brown students? And I was asked if my political beliefs that are my personal beliefs, my right, impact a certain group of my students and their families that I work with every day. We've spent years of working to eliminate biased opinions and feelings, yet here we are with some very biased statements. Specifically, implicit bias statements are still alive and while living in the minds and hearts of AACPS employees. And this person went on to ask me, as we have these conversations, Dr. Bedell has been very strong about that for our students, and they did want to hear that about the employees as well. Are they also protected in this mindset? And it's not as part of this policy, but I would like to just encourage people to consider that as policy moves forward.
Absolutely. And I will say we do have policy for that in regards to national elections that are occurring that says that campaigning shall not occur in our schools. So there are certain discussions that, of course, people have personal opinions, but should not be going in front of our students in our classrooms. And I do want to make it clear that that is a line for us.
Well, so this was not necessarily campaigning. This was their personal beliefs were being questioned as to their ability to do their job, because it was indicated that they themselves had a bias for having a political belief against a certain group of students. So if one employee says that to another, wouldn't that be implicit bias in and of itself?
Let me jump in on this one.
Okay.
So I think I put out a video probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And in that video, I made mention of the importance of our students getting out and voting. I also made a comment that no employee in Anne Arundel County can insert their political positions on students. That is not the role of an educator, and we have policy that clearly says that we are to operate with neutrality. When I go and interview people, and I've interviewed, I don't know, a lot of people over my career. Not once do I ask somebody, what's your political affiliation? All I care about is, do you have the ability to do the job as articulated on the job description? But what also comes with that responsibility is that then when people are hired, you can't then take to social media and start touting your political positions either way. And then when it ultimately creates some hostility or some culture and climate issues, almost make it an appearance that, you know, people are out on me, on my particular political position. I've been here 2.5 years. Not once have I put out anything on whatever position I'm taking on a political matter. That's not for me to do. That's not for me to insert my presence in the power that I have. And we do have that stuff happening right now in our county, where people, you're putting stuff out, so you're opening up yourself for people to now say, I don't appreciate your values or whatever it may be. And so to me, I think it really goes back to the video. We have no business inserting our political values or beliefs on children. That is the responsibility of those family members, where those kids come from. And I'm going to be adamant on this. I'm going to have zero tolerance for anybody engaging in any of that kind of stuff. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. So I don't, Corinne, I don't really have a further answer around policy, but I can tell you that we have policy on the books that tells us that we are not to be out here, utilizing and talking about, whatever political views that we have and inserting that on our staff or students.
I appreciate your comments, Dr. Bedell. I think that they were well stated. I think that some people may not watch your videos, but do want to hear what you have to say in that regard. And I would be happy to make sure that that person sees your comments on this. I also just want to encourage everybody to make sure that in practice it does apply to both sides. Thank you.
Ms. Corkadell.
So I was the actual member. This was before you guys came on, that had made the recommendation to include political affiliation. I don't think we placed it where it should be, nor that we were advised in conflict, but it was a start of a good conversation that has led to some improvements. I will just say that as much as people think this should not be necessary, there are numerous states, well over a dozen now, I think we're up to 17, 20 some in last check, that the whole state has declared a non-discrimination for all things political. And why? Because it just sitting there as a ability for somebody, for an agency to implement or for human resources to implement has not been adequate to well protect folks from being turned down of opportunities in leadership, promotions. People flat out say that they question value based on that identity. And when you live in a country that is a two-party system, it is clear and evident that the goal is for everyone to have a political identity of one or another. We did this in anticipation of the 2020 election. It was very regrettable hearing stories of employees and the things that they were told in the postscript of the last presidential election, a little bit less in the gubernatorial, and then here we are again with another presidential election. And I would just say that social media is what it is. And in the governing, as a public servant, you naturally, and even all the way up to the Supreme Court has confirmed that you do concede some of your pure First Amendment rights when you become a public servant. And how that is dictated has been recently updated in the Legislative General Assembly in 2023, I believe. But there still is a little bit of gray area there. And I think there's a lot of room for personal improvement. You cannot claim to be for each and every student and without recognizing that some of the students have an association with that which you are disparaging. When you involve political, employment, and other types of discrimination, the effects do harm children at the end of the day, even if it is directed to an adult. And although I remain disappointed every single time I hear that, I know that we have strong higher level leadership and we have lots of room for improvement. This is an ongoing conversation. These are not one-out things. The implementation of political affiliation rules and regulations are embedded in J, which does limit it to students. And for those employees who have had concerns, they also feel they do not have a due process means because we lack policy that would associate it with that particular group. And the fact is, Maryland does not have political affiliation as its state thing. So it is up to us to decide as a community how far we want to go. But I will say, if anybody's feeling disparaged because of their political party, which is a process that every citizen is encouraged to do, and there's two, or there's a choice of none of the above, minus a couple exceptions, I think Green Party in Maryland and one or two others. But nonetheless, we've got to get this part right. And this is not the place for it. Actually, if you read into Gibson on the policy, one of the things that we haven't implemented yet in Gibson, although we have the vast majority, is to separate our policies between that is required by state and federal law is one policy. And so you have J1A and J1B. And J1A is something that is constantly being monitored by the staff to make sure that the updates, when the board goes to hear it, review it through policy committee, it is a more straightforward, because anything deviating from those requirements, they're not really recommendations, folks, is something for the board to therefore make decisions on. Texas has the most together with that. I know New Mexico has done so and similar. And I'll just say that when we separate those things, there may be better opportunities to have more in-depth conversations of what else we can and should be doing. I think there's a lot of room for the equity committee to be reviewing these types of things and find out what strategies are going to be necessary, because I don't find it acceptable that anyone or people's family are going out there and people end up feeling threatened. I don't care what the words were. If people feel threatened as a result of whether it's their leaders here in the elected capacity, or it's someone of authority over our children, anybody, I don't care, doesn't matter who, nobody should have to feel threatened because of them exercising not just their right, but their duty as a citizen. And so I just really hope that I stop seeing what keeps being sent to me on such threatening, hateful languages. You can mince it any way you want, and it doesn't matter if it's legal or not. It doesn't still make it right. And even if everybody is nodding their head and thumbsing up with you, wrong is wrong. Things that are untruthful are untruthful. And I really hope we can turn the page on that. And that'll be for the next group, but it really is about everybody individually. So thank you, Ms. Frank, for bringing that up. And I apologize for doing a little bit of a rant, but this was my baby for so long. And I'd like to see the district eventually take it to the next level, because everything that Dr. Bedell said would be handled if we just had that clarity. Without clarity, you cannot really equitably enforce or empower those who are vulnerable to these conditions. And we have to have our citizens engaged in our community. That's how we get things done. You can't have it both ways. Can't be for each and all if you truly aren't for each and all. And you can't cast judgment based solely on an identity. I hope it's a lesson to society that identity politics is not a good idea and does not end up with good results. So thank you.
Ms. Ellis.
Thank you. I hesitated to speak up here, but outgoing member. And interesting that I did make a couple comments about this, my outgoing remarks, and perhaps I should have left it there. But I with the issue coming up, with the topic coming up, I think it's important for us to look at this realistically and honestly. Going back to my own home, a family of 6, all now children, all now young adults. My household is all over the political spectrum, and we love each other dearly. Any of us will do anything for the other. But I will tell you, I've spoken, this came up with a couple of my kids in different conversations very recently, where they told me, in some of their history, government, English classes, they were taught as things should be, as they were they were fed a political perspective. One of them mentioned when I wrote my papers, I would write it from that perspective because I believe that's how I would get a good grade. The point here is not, these are individual cases. I know, Dr. Bedell, your staff, your principals, you cannot manage every interaction that goes on in every classroom. But what it takes is a culture shift, and a culture shift starts at the top. And Dr. Bedell, you just said all the right things on this topic. I know it takes time for this kind of change. But the division that we're seeing across the country, the changes start here. They start locally. They start in the schoolhouse. They start in setting examples for our kids. So I appreciate that this came up. I agree. I think perhaps we should have done the work to get that language added to this policy. There's really no reason not to. I remember when you did offer that language in the other policy, Ms. Corcadell, you were pushed back by staff, indicating, well, that would not align with state and federal. But it is in our purview to expand who we consider to be protected. Okay, get off the soapbox, but thank you for bringing it up.
I do want to say this because I know you all as a board didn't hear this, but I think it's important for the board to hear this and for me to put this on the record. We did have a meeting, I want to say either prior to the election or immediately, maybe it was prior to, with all of our principals. It was after, because what we wanted to do was to, first of all, let everybody understand that based on what the polling numbers showed, this was going to come down to it being 50-50, 51-49, and it came out as predicted. And what I said to principals was, listen, you're going to have people all over the place. So part of your job is to constantly reiterate that regardless of the outcome, we're all a family. We're all in here together, and the process will work out the way that it's supposed to work out. And we got to move forward with continuing to move our schools and our community. I said that. But one thing I also said to principals was, what I will not tolerate, and people have to understand, we are all public figures. I will not tolerate it from a single one of them. I will not tolerate it from senior leaders. I will not tolerate it from executive leaders. Is that we cannot take the social media and go putting out stuff, whether we're happy or not. You're not happy with the decision, oh, the world's going to end. You put something up there, you're not going to be employed in this county much longer, because what you're doing is now you're creating this culture and this climate that is not going to be conducive to creating a sense of belonging. And I told them, like, our focus has to be around a sense of belonging, period. Whether you were one that came out as a winner or not. I made that very clear to building administrators that I will have zero tolerance either way. I don't want to hear anything negative that you posted about the outcomes or anything positive, because we have to operate from a position of neutrality as public officials. So I just, I think some people want to throw rocks and then they want to hide hands, and now they want to run to look for help. There's not going to be any help, because I made it very clear what we're willing to tolerate and what we will not tolerate.
So thank you, Dr. Bedell. And, I'm just going to add to that, that needs to start applying more to elected officials. And the state better recognize that, because all of the local education agencies, they struggle with the social media interface as it relates to their members and the unintended consequences and impacts it can have on the community, and that it does impact our students. And most importantly, this stuff really distracts from education and academics. That's what we're here for. We're not here to convince people of that sort of thing. We're here to teach our students how to be good citizens. Thank you very much, Dr. Bedell, for making that perfectly clear. And we too are public servants, and self-governance unfortunately doesn't always work.
Mr. Silkworth, just so I can close this out, because again, it is important. I always reflect on things that I've said, and I do want people to understand that you have your First Amendment rights. You choose how you want to apply them. And then you have to understand the roles that you're in. Some of us can do things that others can't do because of the roles that we're in and what it opens up. And I think that is very important based on what you just said about elected officials also understanding that piece. I think that's very important.
Okay, so for the non-discrimination code AZ, did we get a motion? Or we need a recommendation from Dr.
We did it.
Okay. We have the motion. Okay, is there any more discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Schallheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdowie?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell?
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, item 7.05, technology use and security code DI. Ms. Wilson or Dr. Bedell.
Oh, yeah, let me go ahead. Okay, Mr. President, the superintendent recommends approval of the policy DI, subject to final correction for style and format.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Silkworth. Policy DI, Technology Use and Security, is before you this afternoon on third reading for final adoption. As a reminder, the policy was last revised in 2016, and the revisions proposed include adding soft hardware to the purpose paragraph, removing repetitive language from the position statement, and adding legal references. I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, I see no questions. This is also up for action. So we have a motion, we have a second. No more comments. Ms. Howe.
Ms. Schallheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdowie?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we're moving on to policy revision, second reading, 7.06 board committees, code BBE.
Policy BBE is before you on second reading after being posted for a 30-day public comment period. There was no comments received during this time. As a reminder, this policy was last revised in December of 2021 and is being updated to account for the board's recent adoption of policy BL, Board Emergency Management, which requires the establishment of a continuity of operations plan or COOP committee. And I'd be happy to take any questions you have regarding policy BBE.
Ms. Ellis.
Thank you. And my apologies. I've been through a whirlwind of about 5 days now. So, Ms. Wilson, did we not add the audit committee?
We did not. Mr.
Okay.
Reagan, your internal auditor, and Mr.
Right.
Silkworth did ask me to draft that amendment, though, and it was provided to policy committee.
Okay. Okay. So that's being taken care of.
You all would have to make a motion to
Oh,
include
to
it
do-
so it could go out on public comment for.
Oh,
before
yeah.
third
So I would
reading.
like to offer that motion. Yes. Yes. To add the audit committee to the board
I
committees.
have language if you'd like.
That would be great. Yes.
So it would be added in position C under 1. It would be new D. It would read Internal Audit Committee. It examines issues related to the operations of the Internal Audit Office to include annual planning, report follow-up, staffing, and budgets.
Second.
Did we get a second? Okay. And I see Ms. Ellis, are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's
okay.
pretty self-explanatory.
Ms.
And thank you for catching it.
Thank you.
Mr.
And this
Reagan.
is one of the recommendations that we had made in the audit committee to, as part of the continuation, we updated the charter. We've updated how we approach the annual plan, and had many opportunities to continue to modernize and update our internal audit, Office of Internal Audit. Thank you so much, Mr. Reagan. And I just want to say your professionalism and willingness to join AACPS in and of itself speaks to your professionalism and expertise, and we are in a much better place and continue to be because of your keen eye. You always got to have someone with a keen eye on the helm, and so that provides for that. But the value that committee brings is substantive and I think well established. And thank you so much, Ms. Ellis, for bringing that up. I just thought maybe it was going to be sitting maybe in a separate policy or something, but seeing that it's not, I am happy to support this and understanding that the language, the technical edit stuff will be forthcoming.
And if I may, Mr. Reagan asked me to share that this was a recommendation of the audit committee to establish the internal audit committee as a standing committee of the board.
We greatly appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Reagan.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? I'm not seeing any lights. Ms. Howe?
So this is a motion to amend.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep. Ms. Schalheim?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Hamdowie?
Aye.
Ms. Frank?
Aye.
Ms. Ellis?
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell?
Aye.
And Mr. Soakworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we will make the edits requested and post the policy for an additional public comment period through third reading on December 4th.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to item 7.07, school bus driver qualifications, code EAG. Dr. Riddell.
Policy EAG.
Well, actually, yeah, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Silkworth. Policy EAG, school bus driver qualifications, is before you this afternoon on second reading after being posted for a 30-day public comment period. We did not receive any feedback from the public on this policy. As a reminder, the policy was last revised in 2012 and is being revised to account for AACPS's use of school vehicles in addition to school buses. And I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Do not see any lights, no questions? Okay. Item 7.08, parent, family, community involvement, code KH.
Thank you, Mr. Silkworth. Policy KH, parent, family, and community involvement, is before you on second reading after being posted for a 30-day public comment period. We did receive one comment on this policy that was shared with the board and is available online on the Legislative and Policy Office's website. This policy was last revised in 2004 and is being updated at the board's request to align with the National PTA's National Standards for Family School Partnership and to add language to the issue statement. And I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, I'm not seeing any lights. Okay. I didn't know which one was first. Ms. Frank.
At the appropriate time, I have a motion, but I wasn't sure if we were still in question phase. So.
Well, we are in question phase. Let's
Okay.
Ms. Dent.
So I just want to say to whoever was that responded in public comment, thank them for the catch.
Mike.
Sorry. Okay, there it is. I just want to say thank you to the person that did make the public comment about the family school partnership. I think that was not only a good comment, but it was something that we could have easily missed. And so I appreciate the person that did that. And so what I really like about the second portion was about the student outcomes. And in the policy in of itself, the intent is to make sure that both the school system and the families are involved. And so I think that in order for us to make the policy all-inclusive, the family school partnership really, for me, made the policy stand out. And then to follow up with that is that I appreciate you not only reading the comments, but implementing it into the next draft. So thank you.
Of course.
Okay, Ms. Frank.
Make sure I get the motion right. I move to amend to reflect that the board and AACPS will partner with families in decisions that affect children and families together as a team, inform, influence, and create policies, practice, and program. And therefore, families must be informed on any substantial decisions made by the school that affect their children.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Corkadell.
So I got to say, I did cram in some research on the amendment when I saw it came in. Thank you, Ms. Frank. And I guess I kind of did a sort of a reverse engineering on this because there's a lot of semantics surrounding parents, guardians, and I don't want to go too far in. But one of the things that I did do is say, well, what is an educator allowed to do and what should they not be doing? And it all came down to eventually, and I looked at different, educator news type sites and recommendations. I did a little work seeing how others address these as these become more and more relevant and prevalent in not just local school districts, but even in some instances, states. And what was clear and evident to me was that there was nothing in, number one, there was nothing in the proposed amendment that would be contradictory to not just the law, but the intent of the law. And it reminded me of when I was working on providing feedback back in a couple years back as it related to proposed legislation that did not pass, thankfully, that would alter Comar 13A.04.18.01 sub D2EI, that the local school system can create opt-out provisions for family life and human sexuality instruction. And I use that as an example because that is typically where families feel that they're the least connected to their school district is in regard to health services and how those health services are carried out. And one of the things that remained true of that, which was adopted in 2019 and not altered to the best of my ability, is that family involvement is encouraged at all of these different levels. And we have to trust that our educators are actually doing the work of informing. It seems pretty straightforward, and it seems like there's a lot of language out there that would compel, but that is not always the case. And I was raised in the 70s and 80s when oral contraception was just being permitted to be received from teenagers. And so similar conversations arose as to what the rights of a parent is versus the right of a school district, and how we administer for the overall public health and safety of the student. At the conclusion of that big debate, it was determined that just like that we cannot differentiate medicine, health advice, medical advice as to what category it is and to why and of its purpose. We've got to stay firm and consistent so that we are not infringing on the rights or accidentally causing harm in an intent to cause good. And so I will just say this, that, teachers can do a lot in Maryland, and nothing in this policy or the language would preclude them from encouraging students to seek a healthcare provider if the conversation leads to it. Contacting the parent guardians is always recommended and was a very big part of the conversations and the reports that have been written on this in the pre-work for many of our pieces of legislation. And of course, teachers can always provide basic first aid. But at the end of the day, there is strong liability concerns, ethical considerations, and overall, they're educators. They are not medical or health providers. We have specialists in our staff, and even those specialists are heavily regulated by the health department, even so much as for a Band-Aid. The joke is always the sunscreen. but there is a overarching liability there. And so these are the places that unfortunately is where the constituency raises their concern, not on some of those other concerns necessarily, but we have to treat it all equally and neutrally. And so the best way to do that is to say we should always be contacting those parents and guardians when there is a health concern being raised by the student, by the staff, or by others. And we have professionals that know how to have those conversations with the parents. I was I was absent due to illness during the introduction of this. And it's my understanding that there was conversation about about the inclusion of this particular additional language, and it did not get recommended by the policy committee. And I have a lot of respect for their informed decisions, but I honestly could not find just cause to not say it, because policies are what our parents do, is they look up our policies when they find that there's problems. You can't find our regulations anywhere. So I really do think that there's something to be said about saying it as an affirmation in the policy. I think the policy in and of itself, within its absence, will provide a really good measure and mark. And I think affirming, if people need to hear that they are important and that they are the partner, and I don't care if they need to hear it 10 times a day, if that's what it takes for us to have the team that we need for our kids to be successful, that's always where we should be. I don't see anything that would cause any grief operationally, because this is something that kind of should be happening and probably is happening in 99.9% of all instances. But we have to make sure that we're capturing that 1%. And we can't, just like we had that previous discussion, we can't control what everybody says and doesn't say. But I think we do need to make it clear that our students we're not the guardians. We really are not. We're the educators. And we need to stay in that business and in that focus. And the whole child can be well addressed. Those relationships are very important. But we have, as public servants, an obligation, legally and otherwise, to inform our parents, to otherwise. I mean, that is the plain English interpretation. And I did a lot more research than that. But in summary, I just want everyone to rest assured that my decision to support this amendment is based on the fact that I reread the law, I reread the memos about it, and I read the Health General Code 20-102 and several others, just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything as it related to health, because typically that's where the weirdness gets, on confidentiality. FERPA and other things obviously compel us to have all those other regulations. So I'm supportive of this policy, although I will not have the opportunity to vote in adoption of it either way. But I do see the optics that Ms. Frank is providing, and I do think it is a necessary affirmation. We need our families to trust us, and we can't say, trust me, but. There is no but in this. The parents have an absolute right, and we have a lot of resources to find a path that will best help the student, because we know that sometimes the student is not always going to make the best decision. Physiologically, that can take up to 24 years old, from what I understand. And that's coming from our health department and mental health agency. They've even got brain scans on that. So there's nothing I could think of that would be an exception to it. And affirming it is a good thing. Thank you.
Ms. Ellis.
Thank you. So since it was brought up that this language was previously offered on the policy did not make it through the policy committee. Just to give a little further background on that, the policy committee did discuss this for a great deal of time, over 2 different sessions. And the it's not that the language didn't have support. It wasn't a majority of the committee. The committee was actually split in half on this language. Frankly, I'm a little concerned that anyone would find it concerning that that we would not support communicating with parents on any decisions that are made for their students. I've heard the argument that there's a concern that some students may be at risk or in danger at home if certain information is shared. If we as within the school system have any knowledge of a student being at risk at home, that's another issue that needs to involve social services, and we have an obligation to protect our students in that way. So that being said, I feel that this language actually protects us as a school system to do the work that we do for our students, for educating our students, because it states to our parents that we recognize their role, and leaves no question about that. I think I'm confident in the work that we're doing here in the school system, and I fully recognize and support that the role of this parents is to raise their students. So I'll support. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Frank, the maker of the motion, you'll have the last word here.
Great, thank you. I have, so I am disappointed that this is my last meeting because I had hoped to see this to the final reading, but unfortunately that is not to be. So first I want to clarify that this should go to section C3E and just clarify the motion to add where the material would go so that everybody is aware. Second, to Ms. Ellis's point about policy committee, I don't disagree with the language that was added. I think that that was a really good addition to the policy, but I think that strengthening the policy in its original form and including the changes make this policy better. So I like the language that was created for an amendment, but I also want to include the original intent of the policy back. To Ms. Ellis's point, it's not just an obligation to report if we have a concern about student safety. It's a legal obligation that we have. Excuse me. So there was a couple points that I wanted to make to that. As a parent, it is sort of an open secret that, and this is not a criticism of any of my colleagues or the superintendent, but I withdrew my children shortly after getting on this Board of Education because of policies that do not protect me as a parent, and because of how we handled our COVID-19 response. So this policy is extremely important to parents, and I can say this from a very firsthand experience, that I would not entrust my children to a system that does not recognize me as the final decision maker for my child. And private school is very expensive, so I really wish that this was a little bit more acknowledged. When I brought up some concerns, the original regulations for policy JQRA were that school staff shall work with the student and the student's parents, guardians to develop an appropriate plan to accommodate and support the student and their gender identity. At some point, and I don't know why, that regulation was changed in September of 2023. And I didn't get notification of this. I was surprised to go back and look at this, but it now states that school staff shall work with a student and the student's parents to develop an appropriate plan to accommodate and support the student and their gender identity unless there is a genuine safety concern for the student's physical, emotional, or mental health safety as determined by the principal or principal's designee. So we have, with regulation, gone around the parent. And what this policy does is create an effective guardrail to say that a student is not going to be is not going to have a determination by a principal's designee as the final decision maker about whether their parents are informed about something like this. I was very concerned to see that. I was very disappointed that in an attempt to try to strengthen parental policies, this was weakened in committee. So I would say that for the parents who have concerns about how we address their roles in our school system, this is a crucial step in maintaining some of that trust. And as far as a system where we, Dr. Bell talks about belonging all of the time, I could never belong to a system that doesn't recognize my right to direct the upbringing of my own child, as the Constitution, as the Supreme Court has stated for over 100 years and has recognized. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, and seeing no more discussion, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Frank moved to amend the language to section C, position 3E, to read: the board and AACPS partner with families in decisions that affect children and families, and together as a team inform, influence, and create policies, practices, and programs. Therefore, families must be informed on any substantial decisions made by the school that affect their children. Ms. Schallheim.
Nay.
Ms. Dent.
Nay.
Ms. Hamdawi.
Nay.
Ms. Frank.
Aye.
Ms. Ellis.
Aye.
Ms. Corkadell.
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth.
Nay.
It's 3 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. Motion fails.
Okay, so we're moving on to item 7.09, employee travel, code GAEE.
Again, for the record, Grace Wilson, Senior Legislative and Policy Specialist. Policy GAEE, employee travel, is before you on first reading this afternoon. This policy is being updated at the request of staff. The changes proposed to the policy are minor and include updating the responsible office and updating language in the purpose, paragraph, and position statement to reflect current drafting style. And I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Ms. Corkadell.
Thank you, President Silkworth. Ms. Wilson, first, thank you for all that you have done and done to support. My question is kind of similar to the other one I submitted a few weeks back on a different policy. As it relates to employee is kind of it's a term. It's a very defined term. But my question is, we have contracts we have agreements with contractors. We have, and then we have what the board does, which is sitting not in a policy, but rather in a handbook, so to speak. And we receive they don't even call it a stipend in the legislature. We receive compensation, and the compensation is received through AACPS. So my questions that I think would be helpful for the board in the future, just report on them next time, because I don't know if you have the answer, or maybe you do, is number one is, would adoption of the policy, once this policy is adopted, would that change some of the terms of how we reimburse our contractors that may have been mirroring it likewise, or some of our educators who come in under contract, conditional, et cetera, et cetera. And then secondly, what a little bit of clarification as it relates to what is reimbursable for a board member and whether or not it is in sync or remains in administrative discretion, because we're not technically employees, but we do mirror back out, and what that looks like for us, because we have been following pretty scriptively, minus a couple things, I believe, similar. And in this change, I just want a little bit of assurances as a soon-to-be citizen that my board would not be privy to receiving reimbursements that that the school employees would not be able to receive.
Thank
And
you for your question, Ms.
And
Clerk.
so those are my two questions. One is contractors and the other school board members.
I have Matt Stansky, our Chief Financial Officer here, and I'll allow the expert to answer your question.
Good afternoon. For the record, Matt Stansky, Chief Financial Officer. So on the contractor piece, so the policy only covers employees, full-time, temporary. Contractors, that if any reimbursement were to be negotiated for mileage, food, travel, that would be through the contract negotiation. But yes, we would use the employee reimbursement as sort of our guidelines to determine appropriate levels of reimbursement.
Okay, yeah, so the new contracts would reflect the new stuff, right? And then the old contracts would still be reflective because you don't renegotiate a contract after you
Correct.
signed it, right? Okay.
And on the, our practice has been through your handbook for board travel that we reimburse per the current policy and regulation. That is, of course, up to the board's will, whether to continue that practice or to change that.
Okay, yeah, no, I've had people over the years ask me from time to time, is it the same? And I'm like, it's regulated under a different umbrella, but I wasn't really sure if there was a limitation that the state sets for all of its state agencies or otherwise. And I know there's scripted law rules for the other elected officials. And once again, we're in that void. Okay, now I just think it's important. And just to be clear, the best of my knowledge, we've always followed the same practices of the school district. So I hope that the new board or new version of the board will remain vigilant to tax dollars and not take advantage of self-governance or consider themselves unique to all the other employees who are out there working and doing things on behalf of the district. Thank you. So no need to do follow-up next time.
Okay, that's it,
Thank
Ms.
you all.
Wilson. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So if we move on to item, review items, 8.01, monthly financial status report, any concerns? Seeing none. Item 9, public comments on non-agenda items. Understand we do not have any comments on non-agenda items. And so that will bring us to the end of this meeting. I will like to announce to everyone out there, the next general board meeting for the Board of Education will be Wednesday, December the 4th, at 12 p.m. meeting here in the boardroom. Do I hear a motion?
Wait.
Oh.
Corinne, Michelle, ready?
Oh.
Motion. Motion to adjourn.
That was great. Thank you. I didn't expect that, but that was good.